Do. Let me know when you've hit the button.
I certainly
Ba-da-ba-doo-ba-doo-ba-doo.
have hit the
All
button.
right. Look at that. Hello, chat. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're having a fine Sunday. Today we conclude the Dollars trilogy arc by talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly. Also, it's not really, but also known as A Fistful of Dollars 3.
A fistful of Sergio Leone's.
Lee
A fistful of
Cronin's
Lee
Sergio Leone.
Cronin's Sergio Leone's.
Yeah, Lee Cronin.
Lee
Man, that
Cronin's the
guy.
mummy.
What a
Holy
legend.
crap. Wow, I'm so glad that Lee Cronin has finally put out his The Mummy. And differentiated it from Brendan Fraser's Steven Soderbergh's The Mummy and from Tom Cruise Gives a Fuck.
Steven Soderbergh.
It was Stephen Sommers.
No.
Stephen Sommers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry,
Okay.
one of the other Stevens. One of the other less talented Stevens. Yes.
Anyway, yeah. Today we're gonna complete the trilogy, complete the arc, the trilogy that isn't really a trilogy, but people refer to it as a trilogy anyway. We talked a
Quentin
lot about that
Tarantino
last
mostly, I
time.
think, is the guy who's done the most for that
To
interpretation.
popularize it as a trilogy, as like
Yeah,
conceptually. Yeah.
because well, that and I guess Clint Eastwood's costume is putting in a lot of work, in that
I
in
mean, it
that
certainly
regard.
is. There are a lot of clues, less so in this one,
Yeah, this
I
one
would
does
say.
feel a lot more. Well, okay, so we'll get into it as we get into it. But there's certain things like this one feels a lot more standalone than the last one that we discussed.
The title is in keeping with that as well. No mention
Yes,
of fistfuls or dollars this time.
yes, but there will be several fistfuls of many dollars, as one of fine chatters pointed out. The spaghetti western amount of dollars just up. Yep.
So anyway,
Yeah, this one
well,
much more
go ahead.
standalone feeling than the last one, or at least
First
fewer
half of the
hints. Yeah,
last
first
one.
half of the last one. Right. Um, and like I've already seen chat preparing to riot if we do not like this movie. Um, and I feel like I can assuage some of those fears at the very. I did very much enjoy it this time around. The last time not so much. This time I enjoyed it a lot more, I would say. So I liked it.
Yeah,
Um,
I like this movie too. There's a
yeah,
lot to like about it, and we're going to talk all about it. I do think still that A Fistful of Dollars is the strongest of the three, but it's actually kind of an interesting question for me whether this is better or worse than For a Few Dollars More. Certainly, there's more in terms of the cinematography, in terms of the style, in terms of the music, the spectacle of it all. I think this is the strongest of all three.
oh yeah.
This movie is really cooking with gas when it comes to the music, especially, but it's a beautiful looking movie. It's staged unbelievably well. There's a lot to appreciate there. They also clearly had a bigger budget,
Oh yeah.
and it shows.
You feel the budget in this one. It's great. It shows that they really go all in for the explosions and the big
Big
set
battle scenes.
pieces,
Yeah.
battle
Oh, yeah.
scene. Yeah, it's phenomenal.
But is the story the best of the three? Interesting question.
Yes, very.
So, Well, because we watched For a Few Dollars More, we are certainly prepared for Clint Eastwood to not be the same guy as either the first movie or the second movie, frankly. And I think he's the most in keeping with the guy from the last film, from For a Few Dollars
Yes,
More. I could believe,
it's more in line with him, but I feel like it does split a good difference, honestly. Guy from the first, guy from the second. Got a little of that first guy's streak. Maybe not as much as I would like to see. I liked that character so much, but he does have a lot of it. More so than I felt like he did last movie. Um I would argue.
well, he feels more in keeping with the guy from For a Few Dollars More. Like, I can believe they're the same person,
Yeah.
but yeah, the biggest chasm of difference in terms of characterization is between these two in the first movie. But yeah, so for the first thing I want to get off right away, The good, the bad, and the ugly. Man, the bad guy, he sure is bad. Great stuff. Lee
Yes,
Van Cleef, he's well, he is certainly the bad guy, and he's very, very good at it. The ugly, he sure is ugly. They did a good job of
I
that.
love that
Um,
guy.
yes.
Tuco is a really fun character in the vein of Benny from The Mummy, as we were referencing here. I think that kind of character underutilized and under hype and glad to get some get his due. I think he does.
Yeah. And then the good. Is he very good? Not really.
Yeah,
Perhaps it's meant to
yes.
be ironic.
Yeah, I mean, there is someone in the chat had said, let me see. Blondie is more good than people give him credit for. He's amoral as fuck, but he has the most human moments of the three. I will agree with that, actually.
Yeah,
I
he's
think,
good by comparison to them.
yes, like, when you
He's
put
got
them,
a few moments where he seems to acknowledge the general sort of value of human life, and that's something,
oh,
We don't
my
want to take that
audio
away.
is apparently fucked. I need to do a little work to fix that. I have no what happened there.
You sound good to me, so it's not a Discord problem. But anyway, yeah, so we got three main characters in this one, and they're all pretty great in their own right. My only real criticism of their dynamics in general is that the good isn't actually very good. He's only good by comparison to legitimately awful people. But once you get past that, I think he's a very interesting character, and he's a lot of fun in this movie. He creates very interesting dynamics between the other two. Being a bit more morally gray as he is, he's still rather self-interested and out for the money by all appearances. Like, we don't really get any indication he's going to use the money for any particular good or anything, but he is certainly a much more humanized character than the other two. How's your mic situation?
Well, the chat will have to let me know. I've done a little bit of tweaking here, so hopefully that'll help.
Was it
Um,
the like
it
the
might have
noise
been the
gate?
noise gate. It was a little bit off from where it was before, so let's hope that fixed it a little bit. I also upped some of the gain to make sure that it's catching everything. So just by a teeny little hair. So that should be.
He's good at being the coolest. I agree with
That
that.
is true.
He's pretty
He
cool.
is pretty fucking cool.
This is another like this is a cool guys doing cool shit movie for the boys. Classic, certified hood classic. There's a lot to appreciate on that regard. In that regard, there's a lot of cool moments. I'm glad they brought back the very, very stylish and cool intro title
Fuck
sequence.
yeah, man! I
I
was so
missed
excited
it
about
in
that.
the second movie. I'm so glad it's back. It's really, really hip. It's a great, strong way to start the movie with all the gunshots and the text kind of exploding onto the title. It's great.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun with that. I love when Sergio Leone just like lets his credit be the
Let
big
it rip.
one. Like, boom,
Yeah.
it's a cannon. Bah, bah, bah. Sergio Leone directed the movie. Huh, yeah, that's what I imagine he was like in the editing room. And
Yeah.
that
It basically these movies have so much in common in like a stylistic regard, because in every single one of these movies there's really cool stuff, and there's also stuff that like goes on a really long time. At least once in every single one of these movies I'm like, okay, I get it. I get it. We can we can move on now.
lots of snap zooms on a lot of cannons
Oh
in this
yeah.
one.
And God, when Tuco was running through the cemetery at the end,
It does take a
man, it goes on, especially because like half of the shots are like kind of nauseating whip pans around. It gets a little
yeah.
like, all right, I get
That
it.
one did.
But
I did feel that this time too. I was like, okay, all right, I can only imagine if I was watching this on a big screen, this would make me quite dizzy.
obviously there's an intention behind it, but it gets a little, yeah, it's a little hard to watch. No, this is a really, really interesting movie, and I think someone mentioned earlier that like this is the most original of the three in terms of the story. I definitely think there's something to that.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, the first movie being as it is rip-off is a strong word, but
And accurate.
an a like a non-legal
Unofficial
unauthorized,
adaptation.
that's the word, unauthorized adaptation of Yojimbo. The movie is very well served by being a ripoff of Yojimbo because the story of Yojimbo is great, and I still think it is the strongest of the three. The second movie, for a few dollars more, the plot has a bit more twists and turns to it. There's a lot more like obstacles to them achieving their goals, and they have to pivot. And, there's a lot of twisting and turning in that regard. So it's more intricate, more complex, but not necessarily as there's something very simple and elegant about the plot in the first movie. This one kind of gets back to that to a degree. I think all
I
things
think it does a
considered,
really good job
it's
of
simple.
balancing both. It's simple,
Yes.
but there's plenty of twists and obstacles, and it's a very it really does not rely on any and thens. There are no and thens in this script. If you
Well,
well, okay, maybe one, maybe
okay, there's one big
there's
one.
one big one.
But I
Yeah,
mostly agree with you that I think that this is a really interesting plot, and there's a lot of, setups and payoffs, and there's a lot of like, because we have to get these three different characters to all converge on this one, quest for hidden buried treasure, essentially, right? But they don't all find out about it at the same time, So the way we construct that so that all these plots kind of intertwine and mingle and everything is really successful. There is one big like contrived
yeah.
and then moment for me. Um, we're gonna jump around a little bit. Are we ready for spoiler territory now?
I feel like we are. I'll jump into
Yeah.
the theater
Okay.
background,
We're
so
gonna
everybody
jump around a
knows we're
bit,
gonna
but
jump
I
around.
mostly agree with you that this is very well plotted, except for when we arrive at the Union fortifications at the end. That is
That is the point where I'm like, that's a
unbelievably
little,
contrived.
yeah.
That's an and then moment for sure. It's like, okay, we're coming upon, like, we're getting closer to the treasure. Man, it's eerily quiet. And then, really, through a trick of editing, and that makes actually no logical sense in the story, they're just suddenly surrounded by guys, and then they take five more steps, and bam, there's an entire Union army who's not like being
They're not
quiet.
being
They're
quiet.
like,
There's campfire and there's smoke and they're like setting fortifications up and
yeah,
there's guns and shit. Like yeah, it's a giant mass of humanity. There are hundreds of troops in these trenches, like
yes.
preparing for a battle. You know,
Yeah, and they're caught off guard by it, and they walk right into it, and they specifically right before they get caught mention how eerily quiet it is, and I'm like, I don't believe this,
yeah.
frankly.
I don't know about that one.
This and that section is really the only part that I'm like, I don't know how much this is serving the story. Otherwise, someone mentioned that there are quite a few coincidences in the story. It's like, yeah, there's like chance encounters and things like that.
I think they do a good job of setting a good amount of those up, though. It's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
they do, and making them feel believable and interesting, and they don't feel contrived. They're coincidences like that they run into. Oh God, what's his name? The guy we're looking for. I'm blanking on his name.
Angel Eyes,
Nope, the
Tuco.
guy Angel Eyes is looking for.
Oh, oh shit, what's his name? He's the Jackson. That was his original name, and then he changed it to something else. The guy who knows
What
where the
is it
treasure is.
called?
I can't remember what he changes it
Bill
to.
Karsten.
Carson.
Bill
Yes, there
Carson
you
is
go.
his name. That they randomly encounter him, near dead out in the middle of the wilderness. Like that's obviously coincidental,
Yeah.
but
So real quick, the thing is mentioning also, right? Like, and I had this exact same thought, right? Because I do like that Tuco in that scene where they stumble accidentally on the entire Union camp, right? I like that Tuco doesn't realize that they're there. I think that's very consistent for him. He's, he kind of bumbles around and
yeah,
fails his way upward throughout the whole
he's like an
movie.
evil Forrest Gump,
Yeah,
you
or an
know?
evil Gimli, really. Like that's sort of what he like, and that was the exact. It's the same trick as the Lothlorien scene in Fellowship of the Ring. In the Lothlorien scene, they have elf, like someone else said, they have elf magic on their side, and they're not like immediately just like they've wandered into the city full of elves. They've wandered into a specific ambush that they haven't noticed. It's a little bit different than stumbling by accident upon the fortification with everything getting ready for a big blowout, clash over the bridge and having not heard neither of them. Tuco not hearing it or not noticing, that makes sense to me. Clint, I don't know. I feel like that character probably should have noticed something.
Yeah, I frankly don't believe that. It is kind of amusing the way it's like, oh, there they are, and then they're surrounded immediately. But then the shot is unbroken, and then like
Yeah,
less than 5 seconds later,
it's a
we,
cool
we
shot.
round.
I'll give him that. Like, it really
Yeah,
is a nice
yeah,
shot, right?
yeah.
But yeah,
There's a lot of great
it's a little
cinematography
bit.
in this movie, but just as a story beat, that feels unbelievably contrived.
Yeah, just
But it's to get us to easily the most expensive side quest in movie history. I can't think of a like a side quest in a plot like this that would have cost as much relative to the overall budget of the movie
yeah.
when they have to do this massive battle and blow up the bridge. It's like and before we get to the final set piece, we got to do this one last big thing. So they're just here. It's like okay. Otherwise though, I think it's quite well plotted and a lot of really fun connections and connective tissue between A and B, you know?
Yeah.
Like I quite like, for example, when they stumble upon the real Bill Carson, that's not his real name, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
The Bill Carson in the dead in the carriage, and he's going to tell Tuco, where the gold is buried, so he'll help him, and so he'll give him the water to help him survive. But then he tells him some of it, but he doesn't tell him the name of the grave, right? And he's like, "Give me the water, and I'll tell you the name of the grave." So Tuco goes to get the water, but then he comes back, and Clint Eastwood has already talked to him and heard the name of the grave, but he doesn't know the location of the cemetery. Like that's really interesting. I like that a lot, and I think that once we get that piece, the dynamic between Tuco
Hmm.
and Clint Eastwood is like really, really
It's really
interesting.
good.
Yeah, and they both have leverage on each other, which is really interesting. And I like, that they kind of like take turns like hanging each other out to dry. you know, like there's a really interesting back and forth, and then at the end he just kind of fucks with them for no reason because it's fun. Jan, get it? Um, there's a lot to like about it for sure. I think I like the story of this more than for a few dollars more.
I agree.
I'm
I
I'm
agree with
more
that.
hooked by it. Not as much as the first movie, but more than the the middle one.
Yeah,
I think that
absolutely.
yeah, because I think like two of the three main bad guys are like very well characterized for me. I have some questions about Clint Eastwood's character and his motivations, but maybe I'll appreciate him more as we talk about it. But there are a couple questions I have about like what exactly he's doing just in general with his life. So like when we first meet him,
Yeah.
he saves Tuco, right?
Yeah, they're running a con.
They're running a
Yeah.
con, yes. And the con is that, he's wanted for all these crimes, and so he collects the bounty, and then right as he's about to be hanged for his crimes, he shoots the rope as they're about to hang him, then he rides off on his horse and they escape, and then ideally the bounty goes up because he's even more wanted now. Right? That's the con they're running. Eventually Clint Eastwood's like, you know what? I don't know if you're ever going to be worth more than 3,000, and so he kind of cuts him loose, right?
Yeah.
So here's a question I had. I think it's left ambiguous on purpose, but do you think how many of the crimes that they read out for Tuco do you think he actually committed?
Okay,
Like, is it
that is something that 'cause my girlfriend and I disagreed on a little bit on this one, right? Because so thematically speaking, I do like that by the end of the movie, Blondie has let Tuco live. Because I like that like that's the good, right? That's the good part of him is that he finds something redeemable within Tuco that we notice through his scene with his brother, who is a brother, right, in the church, right?
yes.
He finds something redeemable and he is gonna let him live by the end. If he did actually commit all those crimes, including statutory rape and bigamy and murder, it's a little bit less of
Yeah.
yeah, a little
So
bit less.
so
Uh,
there's a few different versions. One is that he did actually commit all of those crimes, and Clint Eastwood is perfectly fine with running this con and letting this guy live and not pay for his crimes because he just doesn't care because it benefits him. I think that makes him uh, a lot less good,
Yeah.
obviously. I think the middle option here is that many of those crimes have been exaggerated, but we clearly do see Tuco do terrible things in the movie with our own eyes. So it's not like it's hard to believe that he did at least half of those things, you know? And then the other option is that he didn't actually do any of those things. I just don't believe that one.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't know about not any. I
he had
feel
to
like
have
it's
been
supposed
wanted
to
in the
be, yeah.
first place,
I feel like
and
it's
based
supposed to be
on
ambiguous, and I like it is also kind of played for a joke when they read it off because they have two separate scenes of people reading off different crimes that he's committed,
yeah,
which is
yeah.
funny. It, so there is that. Um, yeah, yeah.
And so I guess if he so here's the thing. I don't necessarily believe Tuco is a whole lot more redeemable than Angel Eyes.
Yeah,
It,
yeah.
I do wonder why he didn't just kill him in the end. Like okay, we get that scene of him with his brother, right? And so that gives us a little bit more of a window into, who he is as a person and how he became the way he is, blah blah blah. We don't really get that with Angel Eyes. Angel Eyes is just presented a
Yeah,
bit
he's
more
just a
like
bad
a
guy. He's
sadistic.
a full-on baddie.
Yeah, for sure. Um,
No
I don't know
complaints with
why.
that characterization. Yeah, the it's interesting because I feel like Tuco is definitely played up more as, like the lovable rapscallion type. Um
Is he?
I think he's kind of play like, like he's just so,
I mean, he's funny.
yeah, he's funny so
I
he gets
think he's
away
an
with shit.
interesting character, you know,
Yeah.
but he's a scumbag.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't know.
Well,
I don't know.
do Italians really care that much about some of these things? A history of sexual aggression in that country, a long and time-honored tradition. Any Mediterranean man.
Yeah, so I think the way that this movie and what it ends up doing with these characters makes the most sense is that a lot of those crimes are very exaggerated. Because if he just did all of those things, or even most of them, I'm like, I
I
don't know
don't
why
know
we're
why we're letting him. Why do we feel like he should
yeah, why do
stick around?
why
Yeah,
it's not like he really needed to make him dig at the end,
yeah,
like he could have just dug himself. So I think you kind of have to believe that most of the crimes he's accused of doing,
are
and well, I
exaggerated
mean,
to some degree. Yeah.
yeah,
I,
yeah, and
I,
I
I
and
feel
and,
like
and it,
that's the best way of looking at it, honestly, because
yeah,
I think thematically it works the best when he's kind of just laying up his reputation. Like he
sure,
does, and we do get to see a little bit of that, right? Where like when they're riding away from the monastery where Blondie has recovered and Tuco's brother is there, right? We do get to see a little bit because when he comes out to talk with Blondie afterward, he's like, "Oh yeah, my brother. He's always a good friend to me. I always know that no matter like he lies and he plays up how much his brother cares about him and wants him to be around.
yeah,
And that Blondie picks up on that, right? Like you get the
sure,
sense of that pretty easily. So I think that makes it stronger if we just accept that a lot or a good portion of those are exaggerated to some degree.
hmm,
Um, yeah, I think that makes the most sense.
yeah. So yeah, I think the only real disconnect for me there is like certainly he's a compelling, interesting thief criminal character. Um, but I guess depending on how you look at all that stuff in the first half
Kevo,
of the movie,
Kevo was like, "Whoa there, easy." My Italian truth bombs
slander,
apparently catching. So I'll
it's
let that one slide because I like you and because it's kind of true.
the worst
Yeah,
part is the hypocrisy. That's true.
yeah, yeah. I think that is the worst part for me.
Oh, really? I thought it was the raping. Anyway, um, Okay, so yeah, if we interpret it that way, I think that is the most like what you're meant to assume based on how he treats him because, Clint Eastwood does sort of hang him out to dry first. So when he is taking glee and kind of torturing Clint Eastwood later, you can view most of his crimes as like kind of revenge oriented in a
Yeah,
way. And so that is slightly different than the full-on psychopathy of Angel Eyes, who is
who's
perfectly
actually like,
willing to
yeah, a
torture
fucking
people for no reason. Yeah. By the way, his introduction scene,
is so good,
incredible.
dude. I like,
Oh
yeah,
my
it's
god, it's
so
so
good.
good.
It's so fucking good. Okay, let's talk about the third. We talked a little bit about the ugly and the good. Now let's talk about the bad here. The bad here is the one of the more intimidating and just like full on stone cold bad guys that we've had
Oh yeah.
in this trilogy so far. I love it. I think
Yeah, he's great.
he's doing a great job in this role. Um,
He's a bounty hunter
yeah,
by
bounty
trade.
hunter or mercenary or some like basically he gets paid to do a job, usually to kill somebody, and he just doesn't. Oh god. Okay, so the intro scene, he shows up to like a little farm out in the middle of nowhere where the kid who helped Clint, in the last movie, is
Yeah.
riding a little burro around a well, and he shows up and gets some information from the father. At the scene where he intimidates the father into giving him the information is just like, it's it's great. And this is something that my girlfriend pointed out while we were watching it. um she had like was like, why does he look like he's trying, like he's about to laugh? He looks like he's trying to break the other actor by like smirking right on the edge of laughter. And she was like, really, it's like his eyes are just like the way his eyes are, that is what's doing it. And I was like, oh yeah, it's because his name is Angel Eyes, and he keeps that up throughout the whole movie. It's a great little performance detail that I probably wouldn't have noticed otherwise, but then the more I looked at it, like when he's in those scenes, he does kind of look like this. He's got this smile, this joy in his eyes that,
Got a little twinkle.
yeah, yeah. It's great. It's
Because
it's
he's
really good.
enjoying himself.
Yeah.
This is like the most fulfilled he ever gets. You know what I mean? He really takes joy in it. And you can tell, you know, that little introduction scene. Obviously, you can tell that the opening of Inglorious Bastards pulls a lot from that
Yeah.
dynamic in
Very
general, the way
much. Yeah,
he
yeah,
comes
yeah.
in to sort of terrorize the family and sort of dominate them. Yeah, it's really, 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 really strong. And like when he first, enters the house and we see him way in the distance in the doorway, like man, and
What a
there's
good
like not a
shot.
lot
Yeah.
said at first. Yeah, I really like that scene, that sequence a lot. Yeah, he's pretty compelling. You had a question about his role in the Union
Yeah,
Army.
I do. Okay, yeah, I did have that question, and I think I might have answered it at some point using the context clues of the movie, but I do think that there was we could have used a little bit more
Well,
for
when he
this
first,
bit.
when we come to see him as a Union officer in a little prison camp, it's like, oh, how'd you get here?
Yeah.
How'd you end up as a sergeant
So
in the
my
Union?
immediate question was, is he a sergeant who like sneaks off to do mercenary shit on the side? Like what exactly is going on here? This
See, I assumed he kind of faked his way into it the way our other
I think
characters.
that that's what you're meant to take away from it, especially because a little bit after that, Tuco is gonna run into the guy who tried to kill him in the first scene, and that guy tells him that he's been looking for him for 8 months. So that's the only point where I was like, oh, okay, so it's been long enough that I could buy that he snuck his way into the Union Army and like worked his
Yeah,
way up to sergeant. That makes sense. Before, when it just kind of, I was like, I'm not feeling the time gap between these scenes. So I was just like, so he's just like, he's back to his day job? Like, what what are we doing? He's
yeah,
but
because I
yeah.
think part of why there's a question about like, wait, has he always been one of these, or like how long has it been? Because when he's talking to the commandant of this little prison, you know, farm thing, he they know each other at least a little bit. But like you
Yeah.
can, it's kind of played like you don't
They
really
have
know if
some
they've known.
there's some antagonism between them. Like he is familiar enough with who he is that he's like, I'm gathering evidence on you, Bucko. Like I know you've been fucking around with these guys.
I know you've been torturing
I know
people
you've been
for no
torturing
reason.
people for because you for the love of the game, and I
Yeah,
am going to court martial you if I do not die, which seems like not the wisest move to
no,
pull, to just be like, oh, if I don't die, don't just you wait, I'm gonna like make your life miserable and possibly get you hanged.
yeah, he needs to play his cards
Maybe
a little
play, yeah,
closer to
maybe
the
don't overplay
chest,
your
just a
hair
little
so
bit.
much, but
But
it worked out for him. Honestly, he doesn't like, because I honestly expected at that point, I was like, oh, he's gonna just fucking kill this guy,
yeah,
right? Like
yeah, yeah.
obviously he kills him. He just puts a pillow over puts a pillow over his head and blasts his brains out right now. Why wouldn't
I
you?
agree with Topaz Dude who says that this is the best directed of the
Oh
three.
fuck
Yeah, I
yeah.
think from like, on a formal and technical stylistic level, these movies just get better and better. You know, really, with like a couple gripes here and there, but in general, I think yeah, the directing just gets better and better in each one of these movies. The only thing that bothers me at all about how it's directed and edited and all that is the use of music sometimes. It's a little like you only wrote so many pieces of music. I get it. An orchestral score is expensive, but we're reusing a lot of music, a lot in these movies. I didn't find it maybe quite as bordering on tedious as for a few dollars more, but there were a few times in this movie where it's like I think I heard that cue one too many times. Not it's not egregious. It's not as bad. One of the worst examples I can think of in a movie that I like and think is good is there's like a piano motif in Eyes Wide Shut.
Oh yeah.
How familiar are you with that movie? Do you know what I'm talking about? Because
Yeah,
it's the
I do.
bum ba da dum bum 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 bum. That plays like 8 times in Eyes Wide Shut. It's too many.
Yeah.
We need another music cue, please. I'm begging you.
This one I don't know if I don't find it quite that bad, and I think it works a lot in this one because they do vary it up. So like when the bad pops up on the screen after Lee Van Cleef has shot the dude with like who paid him, because the farmer who he
Mhm.
killed also paid him, which playing doing the most in Fallout right here, like doing the most Fallout New Vegas run ever, basically. Um, that they play it instead of with the high, the high notes. They play it more down in the bass clef.
Oh
They
yeah, yeah.
like they give it the
Yeah.
dong
There's more.
dong dong. They really kind of like hit you with it there and let it sit. So I like that they vary it up.
Yeah. So I agree. There is quite a bit of variation, but it is a like what is it? Nearly 3 hours? How long is this movie
It's
again?
almost
Is
3 hours long. Yeah.
Yeah, and there are a few music cues that just think we play a couple too many times, or maybe one too many times. That's it. They're good pieces of music, but sometimes you can have too much of a good thing, or just like it. Or maybe not.
Wasserman is gonna crucify you after this one.
Nah,
She's
it'll be fine. You'll be fine. You know that I'm right, at least in principle, that it's possible. You may
yes.
disagree
You
whether
may disagree
the
that this
the
one.
cues wore a little thin at a certain point, but I think there's just a couple. There's just a couple moments because okay, for example, I really like the Ecstasy of Gold piece a lot, and the first time I watched because I had heard it before I watched the movie, and then when I watched the movie, I was like, oh, it's really not in this until the very end. There's
Oh
a
yeah,
couple little like little arpeggios that show up for like 5 seconds earlier in the movie, little teasers of it. But the main ecstasy of gold of him running through the cemetery, that piece as like an epic finale, only really comes in at the end. And it's like okay, there might have been more opportunities to pull little pieces from that for earlier bits in the movie.
yeah.
Just something just only because there's a couple times where it's like the I won't imitate it, but like the main music cues we hear a lot in this movie. Like, we could vary it up just slightly more, just slightly, because they're really good. They're really great pieces of music, and I don't want to be tired of them. You know, I
Yeah.
really because I think the music in these movies is incredible, and some of the most interesting and weird, and I mean weird in a good way, like musical scores of any movie. You know,
Yeah.
he's got such a distinctive like musical language and style for these movies. It's really not like anything else. Um, and I really like it. That's why I don't want it to be, worn thin a little bit. It's a little bit like Chinatown. Chinatown's another movie where it's like there's only maybe like 10 minutes of music in the whole movie. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's actually not a lot of musical cues. They're sort of, spread
Yeah.
pretty thin.
As Wes said, it's at least it's not the ghoul yodel in Fallout or the Wonder Woman, whatever that is, in Zack Snyder's Justice League. Yeah, both things very accurate.
You gotta
Um,
save your dessert for after dinner. I'm fine with hearing the full thing in its full glory at the end and having
yeah,
to wait for it. I think they could have teased it maybe just a little more, because it's just such a good theme. I
it
would
is
have
really
liked
good.
to hear it slightly more.
Yeah,
The music is doing a lot of
I
really
hear it a lot
interesting
on
things,
beer commercials lately. Um,
like Modelo
yeah, the
commercials.
Modelo commercials where they play it.
Yeah, yeah.
Honestly, to be fair, Tuco does strike me as a Modelo man.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
I feel like
Oh, for
that's
sure.
yeah,
There's an interesting thing in the music that kind of separates this one from the other ones is that there is a kind of like solemn plaintive sort of music that plays basically whenever the Civil War comes into the
well, yeah, because the
story.
Civil War is in the story in this one, like as
Yes.
opposed to the others, which take
Kinda
place
happening in the
much later.
background, or
Yeah,
maybe it happened in the past, it's a little vague, but we encounter various aspects of the Civil War quite a bit in this movie, especially at the very, very end when there's a whole battle and everything. But we go to a POW camp, we see the dead being brought back from battles into like crappy makeshift hospitals and all that sort of stuff. It plays a much bigger role, but not for our main three characters, none of which really care about it,
yeah. The only
which is
time that we really get the sense that any of them do really is that when Clint decides to blow up the bridge because he doesn't like because he doesn't like seeing men
the needless suffering.
the
His
needless
his whole
waste of
attitude
lives.
towards the Civil War seems to be like, "Yeah, this is stupid. Why are we even doing this?" It's like he doesn't really have a strong connection to either side. He seems to see the whole thing as rather needless, you know? That's kind of what little we get of his perspective. But, for the most part, they're sort of operating around it, right? Because
Yeah.
they're all sort of looking for buried treasure operating in their own self-interest to varying degrees, just kind of trying to avoid the Civil War for the most part, but like, they can't avoid it essentially. They keep running into it, which is interesting. And I think the music, like whenever we see, shots of, the wounded and the dead in like buildings and things like that, the music has kind of a somber, like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It
It's a
takes on a
like
different
a
tone.
it's a different it is a different tone, and I almost feel as if that's it's interesting because like it's not doing that really for the characters, but it is doing that for the audience. I mean, it is kind of one of the things that struck me in particular at the bridge scene where they all start running at each other, right? Was I'm like, it's kind of surreal to watch a bunch of Italians dressed as Americans pretending to fight in the most important American conflict,
Yeah.
like of that era. Where
Hmm.
it's so it is it's interesting that it's like yeah, it takes on that kind of almost like a third party observer kind of
Yeah.
thing that I feel like I don't know. It's a little it's different than if an American would have directed it. I feel like it's something that
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, definitely. And I think the way they use music whenever the Civil War comes up, there's definitely a consistent tone that the music is trying to strike in like a isn't this awful kind of tone. You know what I mean? Or like isn't it sad? which is interesting because we don't get that in the same way in any of the previous movies. There's other sort of mournful laments and things like that, but musically, there's like it's almost like he's trying to imitate sort of more American or more Anglo
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah,
ballad
yeah.
style, which is interesting.
It is.
It's a different tone than we're used to in this series. But yeah, I mean, the main theme from this, and the plays over the title sequence, unbelievably iconic, really, really good. And there is some variety to it that you mentioned. It's not the same musical cue played 20 times. It's not Eyes Wide Shut, but like I do like the way sometimes the ba da 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 is like played like low on cellos and basses and stuff like that. It just completely changes the feel while like using only really a few simple musical ideas. There's I like it when we get like the doing shit music, right?
Yeah.
When we're riding off, like now we have a purpose, now we have a goal, now we know where we're going. The music is a bit more up tempo, and it has that and it like ends on that really kind of spicy, almost James Bondy chord at the very end of that little
Yeah.
snippet. There's a
Yeah.
lot of great
Kind of
stuff. A
jazzy.
lot of great,
Yeah.
yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
but also very Italian, very Spanish as well. It's really, really interesting musically. I like all
it's such a
the
unique.
whips and like jaw harps and other weird instruments thrown in there. Got
Yeah.
a really, it's boisterous and vivacious. I like it.
Yeah, I'm into it. I think it's such a unique set of movies, right? Like to have culturally speak, like with all the cultural influences, like I don't know, I really think it works. It combines to create something particularly like just
The
fascinating to
thing says
watch,
cultural appropriation before it was cool. No, I would say this is cultural appropriation when it was
when it
cool.
was cool. Yeah, this was
When it was
yeah,
cool. Because this is the kind of stuff human beings have been doing forever
forever. Yeah.
when it was normal and accepted and ought to be again.
He literally
It's
just he got sued 2 movies ago for one of the biggest instances of cultural appropriation. An Italian guy making a Japanese movie is set in the American Southwest. Like it's kind of perfect. We need to get back to
yeah.
doing more shit like that, honestly.
The best dude says, going off that, how American, if any, or if at all, do these movies feel to everyone? See, that's
That's a good
an
question.
interesting thing. They don't
Especially
feel very American to me, not in like a authentic sense, but it's interesting anyway. I mean, I'm interested in an outsider's point of view on the American Civil
it
War
does
to a degree.
have and I think especially because it enjoyed so much success and because it has had so much influence on everything that's come afterward, it
Hmm.
has changed American culture and film culture, mostly
Certainly, yeah.
speaking for the better, right? But it
A lot of
does,
times when people are like imitating the style or like the surface level, specifics of the West, that like there's a lot of influence that these movies have had
yeah,
on that perception of the West rather than um a lot of American Westerns. Like this has had a big influence on how people remember the American West, for better and for worse, I would say.
yeah,
You know, but it's certainly in like how it's depicted stylistically. Like a movie like Rango. Um,
yes.
like that's pulling from this, not from a lot of other older westerns, the John Ford westerns and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's a lot less gun smoke in this one, like like the show Gunsmoke, not the
Mhm.
actual stuff, not the actual substance. There is plenty of actual gun smoke in this movie.
Yeah, I think in terms of I don't know. I find it interesting as like an outsider's perspective. It doesn't feel like this is what. Also, the fact that like I know what the American West looks like, and I'm never really convinced that the west of
Yes, that this
that
is
Spain is the American West. So partly that helps me separate it a little bit. Like because like I never really. I don't know. It doesn't feel like it's trying to be authentic or historical or anything like that. So it's easy to
Yeah.
just not really treat it that way at all. And so when, characters behave in ways that maybe don't really feel super American, you know, or like historically accurate, it's like who cares, really?
Yeah.
I don't mind. It doesn't really bother me.
Kevo is also making a good point that a lot of there are a lot of American westerns more that are more idyllic and have more of a like, especially lately, the bury my heart at Wounded Knee crowd. Uh,
Oh, well, I mean,
no, yeah, and
that
the
feels
dances with wolves and everything like that. That's there's been swings towards that level of communist,
yeah,
vision
well,
of
yeah.
whatever was going
But,
on.
like, back
But
when,
like,
America was cranking out Westerns because everyone loved them,
yeah,
in the 30s, 40s, 50s especially, like, I wouldn't say that they're all idyllic, I wouldn't say that
yeah,
they're all idealistic even, I think there's actually quite a range. Something like The Searchers is much more, we'll call it edgy or, like, challenging morally than I think a lot of people expect classic Westerns to be. I don't know. Sometimes people have this idea that westerns from before kind of this era that we're talking about now, we're all kind of like, oh, like Andy Griffith or something. And it's like, yeah, there's some of that. There were TV shows like that for sure. But people just love the West in general. And basically, all Western stories are about the law and civilization, because the American frontier, it's sort of about, the conquering of the wilderness and like, being on the edge of civilization. So there's a lot of criminality and there's a lot of like, you know, stories about the law and things like
yeah.
that.
The
But like,
Oxbow incident is one that I'm thinking of when we talk about that. That's the Henry Fonda one that has. So it's basically about a trial. Remember that one we watched in Black with the one person who laughs like Rich Evans from Red Letter Media.
I don't remember which one you're talking about. The Oxbow incident?
Yeah.
I don't know that one.
Oh, I swear we watched that together.
I don't think so. I have not seen this. No.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that one's more of like a almost like a 12 Angry Men kind of situation.
Like a courtroom drama, yeah.
Yeah, with Western elements, So there's more of that than the sort of like the themes are at work here more in the background because we're really kind of focused on doing the thrilling adventure plot that's going on, like the hunt for buried treasure. So
Mhm.
that sets this one apart for sure, and then the others have similar, somewhat similar. Um,
A Fistful of Dollars feels more in keeping with, like, an American Western. Obviously, it has the kind of notes of a sort of, like, Italian, Spanish, European, Catholic kind of
yeah,
atmosphere about it, but in general, that feels much more like an American Western story
yeah,
than this one does. But even still, I think people often misunderstand just kind of the breadth of, like, early American Western storytelling, like, something like, oh god, what's that called? 310 to Yuma.
yes,
Like
yeah,
like that obviously has like an obvious bad guy and an obvious good guy, but like the direction it goes in is very unexpected, you know? Um and we talked about Gunman's Walk. Gunman's Walk is a really, really interesting movie that isn't really your like Andy Griffith sheriff trying to help a small town. It's like discovering one of your sons is a psychopath
yeah.
kind of like too late and having to, you
Put him
know,
down.
yeah, exactly. It's I don't know. There's a lot of interesting stuff. Well, there was just so many because that's like what popular media was for a very long time, right? So there's just a trove of westerns of all shapes and sizes. But yeah, these feel different from the American ones in general, and it doesn't feel like an authentic historical portrayal, but who cares
Yeah,
because it's fun and cool and interesting.
and thematically it fits. So
Yeah,
I'm
someone
good.
said who said it? I think it was Wasserman. It said like the Americans seeing spaghetti westerns is non-authentic the way American movies about World War II often feel.
Yes,
Like, yeah, I
yeah,
could see
I
that.
can imagine.
World War One probably especially more so, I would say. Because obviously there are American movies about World War II that like
From the
you know,
American
we were
perspective, for
there,
sure.
so
Yeah,
it was, yeah.
yeah.
But
And nobody makes more World War II movies than the British. Really, they they love that shit. It's like
yeah,
the
they
last
do.
time they were relevant.
That's not very nice, but
Yeah,
it's true.
yeah. I wasn't
Um,
trying to be nice.
Lee Van Cleef is also in The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. I need to watch that movie.
Yeah,
That's been
yeah,
on
me
my
too.
list for a long time.
I know that one very heavily inspired Steven Spielberg. Um, so I'd like to see that at some point.
Interesting.
But yeah, in The
It's got
Fablemans, that's the movie that like inspires him to
Jimmy
start like
Stewart.
making little short films with the train set.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we got some more westerns to cover. But yeah, where were we? We're talking about this movie.
Shit, man, I don't I don't
We were
remember.
jumping around.
Yeah.
We had introduced Lee Van Cleef's The Bad, also known as Angel Eyes. Uh, Absolutely incredible character introduction. He's ruthless. You know, he's on the hunt for someone on behalf of his boss who's going to pay him handsomely to find a guy who I forget what his original name is, but now he is going by
Bill
um,
Carson.
Bill Carson. That's right. And so he gets that out of this guy, and then the guy goes to doesn't he? He tries to pull a gun on him first, right? Am
Yeah,
I
well,
crazy?
first he like, sits down to eat and he's basically just like, "You go back and tell him, that I don't fucking know, man. Like I know he's going by
Yeah.
Carson. I don't know where the money is. I have no clue." And then he's like, "How much is he paying you, to get the information, to get the name?" And Lee Van Cleef tells him $500. So he goes, "Okay, well, here's 1,000. Here's 1,000 to, go back and kill him, right? Instead." And Lee Van Cleef makes it very clear that because what he says is like, when I'm paid, I always see my job through. So he makes it clear he's gonna kill him regardless. So then he goes to pull the gun. Lee Van Cleef shoots first and kills him. He takes the money, and then he also kills his eldest son, and rides off, leaving them, the mother and the youngest son alone. But then he goes back to his employer, the guy who paid him the $500 to track down this guy and kill him. And he basically, he tells him all the information, gets a little bit more information out of the employer, and then goes, "Well, he paid me $1,000 to kill you. And, once I've been paid." And so then I found this kind of funny, right? Because, like, he puts the pillow over his head to shoot him as if to deaden the sound of the gun, but they didn't change
It doesn't
it
deaden it.
doesn't deaden it
No.
at all. Like, if like, not that it would necessarily, but like
No.
they didn't even change the sound that the gun makes when he shoots him, which is
Yeah.
kind of
Kind of
funny.
funny. Yeah, brutal. And then immediately after shooting him, we get like the freeze frame, the bad, right? And then it keeps going and he blows the lamp out and he just disappears into the darkness. It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so
Oh, dude,
cool.
when he blows the lamp out and disappears,
Yeah.
that's such a great shot. Real quick, Sasha
There's a
says,
lot of
"This is what
those.
I don't get. He got paid to get the name. He got the name, so he doesn't have to kill him now." Yeah, but he's the bad.
But he does it for the love
He
of the
does.
game.
He's in it for the love of the game. That
He is a
he is a
bad dude.
sadistic, psychopathic killer. He doesn't.
He's never more in love with life than when
Than when
he's
he's
killing people
taking it.
needlessly. Yeah.
Good line.
Yeah, he's no bueno. And he kind of like gets off on presenting it like, well, I'm a man of my word, I promised him.
Okay, Georgius, you might be right. He might be doing that to stop the blood from spraying in his face. He's a hygienic psychopath.
Maybe, yeah, maybe. Maybe I could see that.
Yep.
So then we see Tuco being ambushed by people who there's a $2,000 reward out for Tuco, and so a bunch of guys catch him. They're like, "Ha, we got you," and then Clint Eastwood's like, "Nuh-uh."
Dude, actually, like that. So that's the first scene of the movie is when Tuco busts out of the window and the ugly pops up, right? But like one of the
Right.
the very first shot of this movie is like it's a wide that the one bounty hunter who's after Tuco, he just kind of like he folds his way up into the frame to start the movie, right? It's like it goes from a wide to a like a medium close up on his face, It's
Yeah.
really good. Like it's a
Yeah.
really interesting way to open the shot and open the film. Like it just it's so unique. You don't see that really, like most of the time. Like we got the title sequence, we got all that, but then like to just have that, it's such a strange thing to do, but it works. Like it very very cool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's done this in all of his movies so far, but he loves those extreme close-ups.
Yeah,
Obviously, most famously at the end of the movie, but like those tight shots where basically it's just their face in the frame. So he has like this beautiful wide shot of the desert, and then he's like the rack focus as he folds his way up into the frame to kind of get like both extremes all in one shot.
yeah,
Pretty great.
it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's like it's giving you exactly the what you're going to be getting from the movie, right? You
Hmm.
got the big wide open spaces, and then the tight. And the guy who's in the shot has a really interesting face, right? Like
Yeah,
there's
he seems to cast people based on, like, how interesting they are in an extreme close-up.
yeah,
Like, that's I wouldn't be surprised if that's the casting process, right? Because he can always dub whatever voice he wants over top of it later. So he just pulls up the camera, he's like, "Alright, now look straight into the lens," and then they record that, and if he likes it, he's like, "You're in the movie."
yeah.
I could believe that's how he does it. But yeah, so first we see, very first thing we see is a couple bounty hunters all converging on Tuco, essentially.
Yeah,
Yeah, and they're like, and then he jumps out of the window and it freeze frames,
and
kind
says
of
the
like
ugly.
blurry out of focus. It's pretty funny.
It's yeah, I I love the way that they do that with him. They like when they show him fall on the bag of coins at the end, and he's like he's like ah, and then it freeze frames on him and goes the ugly.
Yeah.
We like to have fun here.
Yeah. Also, good on him for being cast as a character that the movie is just going to call ugly several times. You know,
Yeah.
we appreciate that.
Wasserman was saying that where she is, which I don't remember where that is, but somewhere that's not America, and I don't think it's English is the language, is that ugly is translated as angry instead for Tuco, and that's actually kind of cool too. I think that that works pretty well, given
Maybe even better.
yeah, honestly.
Um, the Italian title, at least according to Wikipedia, is literally translated as the good, the ugly, the bad.
Okay,
No, just so you know. The
interesting.
more you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do like the rhythm of the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, it rolls off the
It
tongue.
feels yeah.
I'm sure it rolls off the tongue better in Italian
Yeah.
in that order. Yeah, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Absolutely great title. One of the one of the best titles ever, I would say.
Yeah.
It's
It's
just so
pretty
evocative.
fantastic.
It really tells you about what kind of movie it's going to be,
Yeah.
in a very, very successful way. And it's iconic, and it's sort of entered the lexicon as like a phrase. Like, if you said the good, the bad, and the something else, it would, like there's a lot of like memeability there. Just a great title. Good
Bravion,
stuff.
that's a good one. But so they're making a sequel: the good, the bad, the ugly, and the sexy, with all roles played by Vin Diesel. Vin Diesel would never allow himself to be like labeled with a character called the ugly ever. And, like
Even if it was very fitting.
yeah, even if he like no, he would never allow that to
No,
happen.
no, his ego is too strong. He would be the good, the bad, and the sexy, but not the ugly. He couldn't allow that.
That is funny though.
Point of the Italian title is that the ugly is in between the good and the bad. Yeah,
I
you could
like
see
that.
that.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that a
Yeah, that's
lot.
certainly, what they're going for on paper anyway, right?
Sure can.
Yeah, and he's literally in between them on the official old poster as well. That makes sense. Anyway, so Clint Eastwood comes in to kill the guys that are trying to take Tuco. Right? He does his patented cool guy, I'm faster than you. I can draw so fast. I'm the coolest thing and shoots them all dead. But he does the thing he always does in these movies where he waits for them to pull the gun first, right?
Yep. Of course.
Yeah. That's how you know he's
That's how
good.
you know
That's
he's.
the
That's not how you know
that's
he's good and also the best.
yeah, he's the best. Yeah, so I it's hard to get tired of seeing that. It's pretty awesome, pretty great. He's in kind of like a trench coat a little bit.
Yeah, I really like the different costuming at the beginning of this
Yes.
one. I think that helps a
He'll
lot.
get his
Also,
iconic poncho later, don't you worry. I know you were worried, guys.
yeah,
Right, that's why some people go like, "Oh, is this a prequel?" Because he gets the poncho at the end.
I could buy this maybe as being a prequel to Fistful of Dollars. I'm not 100% sure I could buy this as being a prequel to, or sorry, as a prequel to A Few Dollars More. Don't
Yes,
know
I
that I
agree
could
with
buy
that.
it to being a
No,
prequel of
definitely
the other
not.
one, but of Fistful of Dollars. But you know, I also just prefer thinking of it as not existing in the same universe at all.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just a
yeah, yeah.
different movie. Um,
It's just a different universe with a very similar but slightly different guy who has very similar taste in ponchos,
yeah,
you know?
yeah,
And there's nothing wrong with that.
yeah.
So, he brings him in, he collects the bounty for him, and then he sticks around, watches as Tuco's about to be strung up for the myriad crimes. We talked about that. He shoots the rope and then shoots all the hats off the guys' heads. Pretty funny, a lot of fun close-ups of hats getting blown off people's heads. And then he does a cool guy move where he jumps down onto a carriage and like while standing up grabs the reins and like shoots the horses to scare them into running away. It's pretty awesome. It's pretty great. And immediately we see him and Tuco. They're splitting the money, but there's trouble in paradise because they're sort of arguing over the cut, right? Because Tuco's like, it's my neck on the line. I should be getting more of a share. And Clint Eastwood's like, yeah, fucking right.
Well,
No way.
I love his. He's just like, well, if I'm getting paid less, my aim might suffer.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is, it's
Yeah,
like, yeah, you, you don't really have a negotiating chip here.
no, no, he really doesn't. And like all the previous movies, Clint Eastwood gets a lot of really cool, badass things to say.
Yes,
There's no shortage of those in this movie. He's got kind of like that, like a smart ass kind of attitude to him. It's really fun. I like it. And then immediately the same thing again, right? They're running the same grift in
I
a
love
different
that. I
town.
love the cut too, right? Where like we just jump straight to the next time that they're running
Yeah,
this con. I like it's the beginning of this movie as like as long as it ends up running. The beginning of this movie is really tight and it's moving at
yeah,
a really good pace.
yeah.
I think like
Sorry, I just remembered it literally goes from a cut close up of Tuco's face to close up of his face with the rope
the
around
rope
his
around his
neck.
neck. Yeah,
Yeah, it's pretty great.
yeah. It's really really tight. I like it a lot.
Yeah, it really moves at first.
We're
I think
setting everything up
maybe
really well too. Like so that was one of the like
yeah,
I one of the things that I it struck me a lot about this one is that the way the storytelling is done is it's not like hitting you over the head with everything, right? We get
no,
from Lee Van Cleef's character's introduction that there is a guy out there who has buried some treasure that we're looking for. And we find out that he has one eye, right? We learn that he's got an eye patch. We learn that he's with the Confederates. We learn that he's buried $200,000 in gold, and we know that like we see the Civil War happening, as the Confederates are marching out of the town, right? And where Tuco or where Blondie is staying after he leaves Tuco out in the desert, basically, right? We see the Confederates leaving, so we know that we're getting like close to the perimeter of that story when that's when we're in this spot. But then we'll go a few scenes with something else happening before the big one rolls around. But like when so we walk through the desert with Blondie and Tuco for a while, but then a carriage rides up and we know when he opens the door that says, Confederate States of America on it, that the guy with the eye patch is the guy who buried the treasure, but they don't know that yet. So, it gives you the ability to just be like, oh, they're gonna find out. Like, how are they gonna find out? He's got to be the like, It's really well done. It's a really well done
Yeah,
script.
no, I see what you're saying. I one of the things I think is different about this movie is that I think more plays out without dialogue in this film than some of the previous ones. I
Yeah,
think that would be a point of praise for how he's improving as a storyteller over the course of these three movies. Or as a director, at least. There are longer stretches, at least in the first half of this movie, where we're sort of like seeing things play out without a lot of dialogue. Things are being sort of implied and inferred. And one of like it's a point of praise for me that these to understand the plot of these movies, you do need to be paying attention. Not like a lot of modern movies.
yeah,
Not like, it's almost cliche now, but like the thing that Matt Damon and Ben Affleck were talking about working for Netflix, where they're like, "Oh, could you put a big action scene at the beginning, and it wouldn't hurt if everyone, could reiterate the plot constantly for everyone who isn't paying attention." It's like, you know, not every movie, even back when they didn't do that, was as good at like just kind of giving you the clues and making sure you're paying attention in order to be able to follow what's happening. You know, I feel like this movie is good about that.
yeah,
You need to.
absolutely.
It's not like incredibly intricate, but the way it presents information is like there's a
It's
subtlety
subtle.
to it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
subtle. And it rewards you for paying attention to it. Like, it makes a lot of sense. I like that. Um, Filthy Casual was asking if we can convert the number of 200,000 to, modern dollars, right? Because he was like, $200,000 is not worth dying for anymore. Um, if we were to convert it directly, it would be something like 5-6 million, like from the Civil War to now, I think. But it is also in gold coins, which might increase. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, it's all gold, which might increase the price like even more. It's a hefty sum. So, and it feels it too. I like how well the weight, like by the end when you get to the treasure, like there's a lot of weight to it when they pull it out, right? Like there's 6 bags of stuff, and and he smashes the one open so we can see the gold coins. It's like, okay, yeah, it's very tangible how much money this is, based on everything
Yes.
else that we've experienced through the movie. I think it does a really good job with that. Just all working really well.
I'm trying to look up like the gold rate, but I don't know if I can.
Yeah,
Hmm. No, it's not letting me figure out how much the price of gold has gone since
yeah,
1865.
there are
It's
a
a
lot
lot
of
of money. It's a lot of money.
yeah, very much. It's yeah. It's a great. I like a buried treasure story too, right? Like
Yeah,
you get
yeah.
yeah.
That makes the story more interesting to me than the last one. Like everyone's like sort of searching for buried treasure, and they're all kind of different, in terms of their personalities and like how morally dubious they are. But they're all searching for the. I think the thing I like most about this movie is like the dynamic between him and Tuco, right?
Yeah,
Where like they both have pieces of the information they need, but not all of it. And then when there's one point where they think that they've shared the fullness of the secret with each other, and then they sort of break apart, right? And Tuco tries to run away, and he like shoots the
shoots
very
him with a cannon.
conspicuously placed cannon and all that sort of
It's
stuff, and then he
so
gets
cool, dude.
it's
It's
fun.
yeah.
And he lights it with his cigar, which is another awesome cool guy move. But then, once he thinks he has the secret, he abandons him to go try to get it himself, and then he gets there only to find that he's been duped, right? But their dynamic is the most interesting thing in the movie for me. Um, one criticism I have, and this just because I want more of him, is that like Lee Van Cleef kind of disappears from the movie for a while
Yeah,
after a certain point.
that
It's not.
he had
I just want
completely
more of him
disappeared
a
for
little.
yeah. He completely disappears after that. Okay, so we see him at the second hanging with Tuco, right?
Yes, that's
Where he
yeah.
identifies he picks up on the con that's happening, right?
Mhm.
But then after that moment, he disappears, and we do not see him again until we get to the prisoner of war camp.
Yeah.
And I do wish that we had had a little bit more. Now, like a little more of his story would have been kind of welcome, because I think it would have bridged the time gap a little bit in what we were doing. Because we'll find out eventually that there has been an 8-month gap in between the opening of the movie and the ending. So it's been
Yeah.
like almost a
I
full
didn't
year.
really feel that.
Yeah, is
I didn't
supposed to
feel
imply
that.
that. I did not feel that at all until they said that. I was like, oh, okay. Well, I guess that. So like when I found out about that, I'm like, all right. So I do believe that Lee Van Cleef could have snuck into the Union camp and become like worked his way up to sergeant the way that they, snuck in, or like later, when they get
Right,
to the
because
artillery.
he's thinking Carson is going to end up there, right? He talks to someone. I think it's is it the guy with no legs that he talks to?
Yes,
Yeah.
Shorty
He
with no legs.
he calls him Shorty too. Oh Lord. Yeah, he talks to him. He's like, he
That's
pays him for some intel about Carson. He says like there's a couple places he could be, but like the most promising lead is that he'll probably end up this Union POW camp, right? And so then he disappears for a while, like almost half
yeah,
the movie.
yeah, like at least a third of it, and then he
Yeah,
does it again. So it's like, yeah, we spend a much more, a lot, a much longer span of time with Tuco and Blondie than we do
yeah,
with
which isn't bad.
Angel Eyes.
I like Angel Eyes a lot. I find him really compelling on
Compelling,
screen.
yeah.
Yeah, like when we are introduced to him again, and he's become a sort of like despot in this POW camp, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. you know, that's really uh it's such a fitting thing for him to do, and to sort of run it like a tyrant, and sort of like having this little side quest where he's like almost going to usurp the guy who's currently in charge, the commandant of this prison, and then become the guy in charge. I'm like, that's an interesting little side story that he's been on for the
He's
last eight
literally just
months, I guess.
started a productive career in the military as a side quest.
Yeah, he's interesting.
Yeah, very good.
Um,
Oh, sorry. Angel Eyes calls the little guy with no legs half soldier. The guy who they're running another who Blondie is running the same con with, that isn't Tuco, who Tuco forces him to let him hang. That guy is Shorty.
oh,
Yeah,
okay. He calls him half soldier. Yeah,
it's
yeah.
even better than Shorty.
So they go to do the same con again, but he kind of bungles it a little bit. Um, and so like it
Yeah,
he
the
doesn't
rope
quite
the rope was too thick this time, I guess.
yeah, and he doesn't land on the horse, and so he has to, so after that they sort of meet up in the desert again. And this is when Clint Eastwood's character is like, I don't know if you're ever going to be worth more than $3,000. Maybe it's time to hang it up. Maybe I'm just going to leave you here in the middle of the desert. And it's brutal, man. He says like, oh, the closest town is about 70 miles that way or something like that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it's 70
It's
miles. Man, I feel like a man like you could make it.
yeah,
Which is funny.
brutal.
Pretty brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and in a way that makes me go like, is he the good guy? like, why are we calling him the good exactly? He's interesting. I like him as a character. Uh, he's not the most good or very good at all in a lot of ways. So then we got a scene of where Tuco sort of he finally makes it back to town, and he, wants a gun. And I like this little bit from Tuco where you can tell that he knows his way around a gun. I
Oh,
think
dude, yeah, when he like goes into the gun shop and he takes them all apart and he's like, I think I want the barrel from this one and that's
and
awesome.
he's like listening to the revolver up to his ear to like hear the clicks to know if it's working smoothly or whatever. I like that. I like that they're all competent
Yeah.
in terms of their like gunmanship and everything like that. Ultimately, Clint Eastwood is the fastest. He's faster than you. But I like that they're all respectable in that regard. You know what I mean? So when we come to the big duel at the end, there is like a, oh, I actually don't know. I mean, you assume probably Clint Eastwood is going to win, but like just because you understand movies, but like it's a it's a fair matchup at the end, and I like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. And then he robs the guy. Like I like how he takes it out to the back to practice it. I love the little bit where he like shoots the dummies in half, and then he shoots the last one, and they think he didn't get it, but he stomps and it falls.
Yeah.
Like it's a really fun scene with
Yeah.
very little dialogue. That it very well done. I love that. And so then Tuco comes and stops Blondie from executing the same con with Shorty, which leads to Shorty getting executed. Um, and then he drags him through the desert as revenge for what he did before, right? Which
Mhm.
is it. That's pretty fucking brutal, man. And they do a
Yeah.
really good job with the makeup on Clint, as he's wandering through, getting sunburned and everything. It's harsh.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry, really quick. There is one more scene of Angel Eyes before he disappears for a while from the movie. He comes to like a blown up building where there's a bunch of Confederate guys, a lot of them injured, like waiting to retreat even more. And he's like asking a few questions of them, trying to figure out where, he might be. And then eventually that's why he goes
Oh,
to
okay.
the Union. So there's that one more scene. And this is like one of the first times we see the full weight of the Civil War happening. So like it's important in that regard as well. Um, but then after that, after like dragging him through the desert for a while, and I genuinely I like how long this sequence plays out for. I think it's kind of important
Yeah.
actually how like tedious, like it really makes you feel the weight of like how long he's been walking, how long he's been going without water. I like the makeup on him in terms of making him look unbelievably parched. And I like the detail later when he finally does give him some water. He's like, "Don't drink it, don't drink it." So he just sort of
Yeah.
like wets his face and his lips because he's just that dehydrated. A lot of good details in this bit. I like that Tuco has like a frilly pink
Yeah, the
parasol.
parasol. Yeah, I've definitely felt some of the mummy, in that part where I'm like, yeah, because I remember there's a guy who has a parasol who's riding a camel. Like they do a really good job with that. Yeah, it's fun. It's harsh, but
That grotto scene is from the director's cut. Which one's the grotto scene?
I think the scene where he shows up to, because I didn't see a scene where he shows up to talk to the Confederates, and yeah,
Oh, okay. I must have watched the director's cut then. I didn't realize it, but let's see. How much longer is the I'm gonna look it up. You keep talking.
yeah. I mean, well, yeah, I didn't see a scene with that. I watched a widescreen DVD cut that we had in the house. I can't well, so that is kind of important because apparently there has been some controversy over this movie. So the very iconic spaghetti western gunshot sound where
Hmm.
the thing goes it the pa-chung kind
Yeah,
of
like the
thing. Yeah,
ricochet
with the
sound.
ricochet and the artillery whistle almost. That in the 50th anniversary edition of the Blu-ray was apparently completely removed, and they just replaced it with regular gunshot sounds. And so there are some
Oh,
people there's a significant portion of people who are like, why the fuck would you do that? Like that's not that's not cool. But luckily, we got our DVD before that change had taken place, and I don't know if they re-released a version of it with the original sound effect put back in. But yeah, apparently that is a point of controversy with big fans of Sergio Leone films. Um, they do not like that happened.
so it's about 14 to 15 minutes longer.
Oh shit. Okay, so that's over 3 hours
That's
then. Yeah, I watched like the 2 hour and 50 something minute theatrical.
trying to figure out which scene. So obviously that scene where he comes to those, Confederate soldiers. Key additions include the Il Grotto scene, extra desert torture. Okay, good. So I must have got more desert torture.
Yeah.
Uh, I thought that worked. And bridge scenes, offering more context, but sometimes interrupting the film's famous pacing. Okay, that's just an AI overview. Um, what? Because the bridge scene is obviously in the main cut. There's no way it wouldn't be. Is it just longer? Maybe.
I guess that would be
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna get to the bottom of it.
okay.
Um, okay, so so it's okay. Perhaps the most underwhelming of the deleted scenes is also the extended edition's first, colloquially referred to as the Il Grotto, however I'm pronouncing that. This scene was absent from both the original Italian and US cuts of the movie. It depicts a very disgruntled Tuco entering a cave hideout of his former gang. Did you watch that one?
No.
You didn't, right? Okay, I did. Um, so he like picks up a chicken. He kind of wanders into like what an abandoned camp, and then there's a chicken already hanging up, and he starts taking it like its feathers off and lamenting how lonely he is. And then like his former gang members kind of come out,
Oh.
to reveal themselves. And then like he's teaming up with these guys to go get revenge on Clint Eastwood. It doesn't really
Oh.
add too much to it,
Yeah.
frankly, but it just kind of
I
shows
just
that he's
when he
putting the
showed
gang
up
back together.
with his boys, I was like, oh, he just got some. He got the
He
guys.
just got his boy.
He
Yeah,
just
it's
got his
not
boys.
necessary at all. And I think I can understand why they cut it. It's it's not bad or anything. It's there's some good acting from the guy who plays Tuco, but yeah, that's about it. Okay, the fort, 47 minutes in. This deleted scene works in a number of different ways. It depicts Angel Eyes following up on a tip to try and locate Bill Carson. This tip brings Angel Eyes to
definitely
a
want to see
destroyed
that.
fort. Okay, that's the other one I mentioned. He receives information in exchange for a drink that Carson is likely to be held a prisoner at Union POW camp. The audience sees the result of this later in the movie when Angel Eyes has scammed his way into becoming an officer in the POW camp. Besides being expertly shot, so this is from Screen Rant, so you're going to see some editorializing here. Besides being expertly shot to convey the chaos of the hospital, the fort scene also helps to fix a plot hole that was present in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly's US cut. In that version, Angel Eyes simply appears seemingly out of nowhere as an officer at the POW camp when Blondie and Tuco arrive. This deleted scene, therefore, provides an answer to the question as to how Angel Eyes knew where to go. But
I
okay,
don't know if it
but
was necessary, honestly. I mean,
because
it does make you
doesn't he
question it a little at first, but I feel like you get enough contextual. I mean, it made me question it a little bit at first. I guess it's not a
yeah.
necessity that you will,
So
right?
remind me, in your version of the movie, does he hear anyone say anything about the POW camp before he's there?
No, no, I don't remember
Okay.
him. I don't remember him hearing that from
The
anybody.
short the guy with no legs doesn't mention a POW camp?
I don't think he does. No.
Okay, so it was this scene that mentioned that. Uh yeah, I think it's a fine scene. I think it works.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's not
Um
like it's not like it's not helpful. I might have liked to see that one, honestly.
It doesn't explain how he scammed his way in, just that he knew to go
Yeah,
there.
he knew to go there, but I feel like you can once it's not like I didn't put it together, right, that was part of it. So eventually, yeah, I'm like, yeah, I guess he probably just did that, just like the other two are going to when they go to enlist. So it's fine.
Interesting.
But
Yeah, so far the chicken scene totally worth cutting. This one, it does fill it in a little bit, but maybe not in a way that's super necessary. And I like that this is one of the first scenes we see of like the Civil War dead, so that's kind of interesting. And we get to talk to a Confederate general, so that's mildly interesting. The sun bath, the breaking of Blondie. In the most harrowing deleted scene in the movie, Tuco has sat down to rest after forcing Blondie to walk through the desert with no water and no hat. Blondie, whose skin is cracked from heat exposure, collapses to the ground and attempts to grab Tuco by the boot, only to find the boot empty and Tuco washing his feet in a bucket of water. In a moment of pure sadism, Tuco lets Blondie crawl over to the bucket to
oh,
drink, tells him to enjoy a sun bath before kicking the bucket and letting the water soak into the sand.
we did
I didn't
see that.
realize.
We did see that in the first watch through. I
Yeah,
remember that scene. Yeah.
yeah. So that's See, I think okay, I think including that scene makes Tuco a little less like, oh, he's lovable,
Yeah, yeah,
He's like he's got a sadistic streak in him as well. Now, granted, obviously, Clint Eastwood kind of fucked him over first, right? So there's that. But that scene was pretty like sadistic, like he was getting joy out of it, right? And so I think that kind of contributed to my feeling that like, do we really need to spare this guy? Really?
yeah.
That's
I
interesting.
yeah,
Okay.
not having that feels a little bit. It makes it feel a little bit better later on.
Yeah.
Does spare him, but like, yeah, if he
I
was
mean, it's a
willing to do
good
that when
scene.
he,
It's, like, pretty brutal because I like that, like, he's washing his feet in a bucket, and then Clint Eastwood is, like, trying to drink from the bucket because he's just that thirsty, he doesn't care, but then he knocks it over anyway as a "fuck you." Like, I think it's a nice dramatic scene, but it kind of whether you include it kinda hinges on how sympathetic I'm supposed to find Tuco, you know?
yeah,
Because you might almost expect from this that he would just kill Tuco in the end, even with the scene where he, like, meets his priest brother,
yeah,
you know?
yeah. That doesn't the meeting the priest brother and like having that moment with him does not really make up for that level of sadism to me. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, because it's pretty brutal.
yeah,
Okay, next one. While this deleted scene only lasts for 44 seconds, it nevertheless reveals more about Tuco, Blondie, and the moral dynamics of the good, the bad, and the ugly. They are sharing a wagon on the way to the cemetery where the gold is buried, but only Tuco knows the true destination. After spotting dead soldiers, Blondie tells Tuco that because their journey will take them across the front lines of the Civil War, he should tell him where they are going. Tuco, realizing this is a trick, refuses. Yeah, that's not necessary at all.
no, we get enough of that.
We get enough of that. That doesn't yeah,
I mean,
that makes
honestly, it
sense.
makes it
Yeah,
like that would under almost undermines a little bit the well, no, it is kind of funny, I guess, if Blondie does it and then later on when they're rigging the bridge to explode and then
yeah.
Tuco suggests that they do it. It's like, yeah, that's fun. That is I do like that. That is kind of funny. But it's not super necessary, honestly.
Yeah, that one, I remember seeing it, I don't think it adds a whole lot. You could cut that for sure.
Yeah.
Alright. 6 bullets, 106 minutes in. This deleted scene sees the return of the ever cool man with no name. Whoever wrote this article, who up to this point in the movie had been rather subdued in his moments of action. Blondie and Angel Eyes are asleep, seemingly alone, when the former hears a rustling in the bushes and shoots a man spying on them. Blondie then tells Angel Eyes to tell the rest of his henchmen to come out, counts them, and says 6, the perfect number. Angel Eyes then tells Blondie that 3 is the perfect number, and he says to which Blonde, to which Blondie simply says, "Yeah, but I got 6 more bullets in my gun." Yeah, that's a great line.
Yeah.
You didn't see that scene?
No.
Yeah, it's fun. I like
Yeah,
it.
that's good. Good
Yeah,
line.
it's good cool guy shit, you know? He's like, "I thought 3's the perfect number." He goes, "I got 6 more bullets in my gun." Yeah, pretty good. I like that. And then the last one. Okay, the final deleted scene of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly sees Tuco and Blondie interacting with a Union Army captain after being accidentally recruited. The captain, visibly drunk, tells them both that alcohol is the best weapon you can use to fight a war before asking for their names. After neither Tuco nor Blondie give a coherent answer, the captain rather aptly states that names don't matter. So, in,
Wait.
in the version you watched, does he rant and ramble about the power of alcohol?
He doesn't rant and ramble about it, but he does say that line. He says, this is, this is the most powerful weapon in a war, the spirit of the soldier, or something like that. And he kind of burps into his face.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it
But
just,
but so they only cut the bit where he says, "Hey, what are your names?"
yeah.
Okay, well, I'm glad they cut that because I found it weird that he didn't care about their names. Because everyone in this army is going to have like a name. They're going to be private, whatever. Like I don't know. It didn't really work for me that he's just like, it doesn't matter what your name is. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
it's the army. It's not really how that works. I mean,
Yeah.
it
No,
is
I got you.
it's kind of funny that like they're both asked for their names and Tuco's like, and Clint Eastwood's like, like it's amusing, but I don't like that it doesn't amount to anything. I can see why they cut that. Interesting. So yeah, there's it's a mixed bag. There are some that totally worth cutting, some that add a little something but maybe aren't necessary. I think the one that I like the most that I'm sad was cut was the like, yeah, but I got 6 more bullets in my gun. That's fun, man. That's what we're here for. Cool cool guy shit like that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so where Oh, right, okay. So we were at the end of the desert. Tuco has dragged Blondie through the desert with no water and no hat. And he has been saved by the arrival of the stagecoach carrying the man who knows where the buried treasure is, right? And I like this scene a lot where Tuco is trying really hard not to give the guy water.
Yeah.
But yeah, it goes back. I think we talked about how much we like that, and then how that changes the dynamic between the two of them, and then they take the uniforms. We go to the monastery where we really feel the first like more harrowing impact of the Civil War. This is where the first big score cue comes in with all the wounded soldiers. We get Tuco and his brother and that relationship. um I also really like the scene where Tuco tries to convince Blondie that he's dying, so he should tell him the name.
Yeah.
Which, like, I love how much of a he is. The
He's
consistency in his character is fucking phenomenal, man. He's just
yeah.
like constantly looking for every angle to get ahead for himself. He reminds me so much of Benny from The Mummy, who I think is by far like the glue holding that movie together for a good, because like we rewatched, Nikki and I rewatched The Mummy Returns recently, and it's fine, but it's like without that character to give you some of that dynamic, it just doesn't work as well. It's just not quite as good, you know.
No.
Tuco has such a great role as like he's a main character who is a clown, but is like there's depth and layer to him that I think is just
Yeah.
something that you miss a lot in movies that try to do characters like this now, where like
Yeah.
he is competent and he does have one of the more complex, well, the only complex backstory of the three characters, really, because
Yeah. We
he's
don't
the
really
only
get
we
any
don't
of
get
the other
anything for the
backstories.
other
Yeah.
two. So he is
He's
like, yeah, he's
He's
great.
he's a little bit of a clown in terms of, like, being funny because of like, just how big his personality is and, like, the situations he ends up in, but, like, he's pretty competent in his own way, and also he's a scheming little rat, and that's interesting, you know? He's always, like, trying to, like, figure out a way, like, "Oh, what can I get out of this?" And, like, I don't like they call him a rat. That's one of his many, many nicknames and aliases, and he does like a thing with his teeth that kind of
Yeah, yeah, really
impersonate the
emphasizes that.
rat. It's pretty funny. The scene with the brother is really interesting.
Yeah,
You know, because the dynamic of like one of them becoming a priest and one of them becoming a thief is interesting as well. And I like that it kind of leaves the priest brother shaken a little bit. Because
yeah, man.
at first he's like, "Fuck you, you're terrible," whatever. But then he kind of like remembers that he is his brother, and it's an interesting little scene. I like it.
Sorry, I was eating a chip, but I wanted to say that really like the I love how Tuco turns the like basically he's just like what he says to his brother is, you left when I was 10 or 12, I don't even remember which, but I was young, right? You left, you went to be a priest, and I stayed. You took, and what he says to him that I think sums up his character so beautifully, right? Is he goes, you taking the priesthood took the easy way out, right? I had to, he's like, I've had to fight. I've had to do all this, right? Which he doesn't understand how difficult it is, to go and join that, join the order and, take that kind of, vow. He doesn't understand any of that. He's just like he's angry with him for
Hmm.
abandoning him, and he's lashing out and basically using because like he we'll see what he does later in the cart as they're riding away is he loops the story to be more favorable. Like he flips it on its head to be more favorable to him. Because he tells Clint that like, yeah, no, my brother is always happy to help me. He's like he never wants me to leave. He doesn't, he's constantly it's great to know that no matter how low I sink, I'll always have somebody who's there with a bowl of soup, right? For me to offer me a bowl of soup, right? He's spinning the narrative to favor himself as his defense mechanism for what he went through as a child. And I just like I think that that is so good. It adds so much to this character, and then like it adds a lot to Blondie's character when he basically kind of just like he knows he's lying, he knows he's full of shit, but what he says instead of saying like yeah you're full of shit, he goes, well, after a nice big meal, there's nothing like a cigar, and he offers him his cigarillo, and they share that moment as they're riding around. And I think like that sums up Clint's character as like that's where we really start to get him defined more as like as the good, because he has the sympathy for this guy who's really kind of just a product of he's a product of his environment. He doesn't even quite realize it, right? But he's still in his way optimistic, you know? And I think that that's what I like so much about the dynamic between these two, and what makes Clint the good in this one is because he recognizes that, and he does reward it with, by the end he still leaves him alive, right? Like I think that
Yeah.
works thematically very well,
Yeah.
as
I think
long as we assume that the rapes and the everything else was exaggerated in some way, shape, or form.
yeah, and if we cut the scene where he's really taking a sadistic glee and,
Yes.
dehydrating and starving him to death, like, I
Yes.
don't know, that undercuts it a little
A
bit.
little bit. I mean, I
A
think
little
I
bit.
think I can write it off as as Blondie recognizing that like when he feels wronged, he, goes above and beyond, right? But like he does have a sense of loyalty, even if it is a twisted and corrupted one in some way, like for his brother, right? Like he still won't
Yeah.
speak bad about his brother.
Well, he's not, yeah, he's definitely not the psychopath that Angel Eyes is. He's a bit more of like a scheming, always trying to like, you know, I don't know, like so like I wonder what Tuco does with all that money,
Yeah.
like just out of curiosity, like what do you think Tuco goes on to do with that money? You know what I mean? I feel like he goes on to still be a criminal.
Oh yeah, for sure.
you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think he goes and redeems himself. Like there
No,
could
or
be an
goes straight.
interesting night, like maybe, well, yeah, but I don't think that
No, I
it
don't think
ends
so
with
either.
him yelling out at Blondie that he's nothing but a dirty son of a bitch. Like,
Well, I mean, to be fair, that
yes,
little stunt he pulls at the end.
is
Yeah.
yeah, no, it is, yeah, yeah. I do get it. I understand. At the same time, though, you are alive. He could have killed you, but he didn't. So, there is that. And of course, he's not the type to appreciate that, right? Like he's kind of got the entitled air of a criminal, the way that they do be. But I think it is, yeah,
From Winslow says Tuco is never meaner than he has to be to civilians. Like, okay, like he's not quite sadistic to the gun store owner,
he does
but
leave
he
him a big
still,
bottle of rum or whiskey or whatever it is.
yeah, he does rob him,
Yeah, he does rob him, and
which isn't,
and he humiliates him slightly, not like
yeah. So
publicly,
it's like
but
I don't, like certainly the sadistic part is coming out in response to like the perceived slights that he's been dealt by Blondie, right?
yeah,
Like that's where we see the sadism come in. In most of the other situations, he's just a self-interested thief and a criminal, right? He's
yeah.
still not a good person.
Yeah, but
I
there is a
just
glimmer of something.
yeah, there's a
Yeah,
glimmer, right? There's something redeemable there for sure. Uh, it could be more interesting if it was redeemed slightly for me, but like he's certainly I can understand why he leaves him alive. It's like he leaves him alive, but fucks with him anyway because he like knows he isn't really that good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the so he takes one more opportunity to be like, haha, gotcha. It's just it is really funny. I think the end is really funny. And there's a lot of humor in these movies too, so it's like not taking itself unbelievably seriously.
Yeah, that so they and then I like how they end up getting caught as they're leaving the monastery too, right? Because they see they're riding along and they see a patrol coming of military men, and they can't tell what color the uniforms are, but it looks like they're gray. So Tuco
Mm.
just starts like the thing is, right, like they see the military men coming and they're like, oh, maybe we should take these clothes off, right? Just take the jackets off. But
Yeah.
instead, they go, oh, no, no, no. What are you worried about? Tuco goes, what are you worried about? They're gray. And he starts cheering for the Confederacy.
Yeah, long live the Confederacy.
Yeah, yeah,
Yay.
fuck those Union faggots. Yeah.
It's good to be in Dixie or whatever he says. Yeah.
And then it shows up, and the Union commander is brushing the dust off of his blue jacket, and they are arrested and taken to a POW camp because now they've been caught wearing Confederate uniforms, which
Pretty good. It's
pretty good.
funny. I like it. It's good. There's a lot of fun stuff.
Yeah, I like
Yeah, so
that.
then they're brought in, and then it's revealed that Angel Eyes is now a
A
guard
sergeant.
here to
He's
get
a sergeant in the
sergeant.
Union
Yes.
Army. He's worked his way up, and he's the sadistic guard. And I
Oh.
see. Go ahead.
It's just like it's funny to imagine that he legitimately like worked his way up from private or something. Obviously, he just scammed his way in,
Yeah,
but it
yeah.
is much funnier to imagine that he just went straight for a while.
He
Just
was
like,
doing
just
NCR side quests to build up
yeah.
rank, and then he's like, yeah, you know what? Nah.
Mhm.
The gold is calling, and I must go.
Is this the same goon, like the big
Yes,
curly-headed
this is
guy?
the
Yeah,
same big curly
that's
headed
what I
goon from
thought.
the last two movies. Thank God he's in a different costume this time.
He's fun. I like
Yeah,
him. I'm glad
he's
he's
great.
back.
He's got the
It's
one
good to see
weird
him.
milky eye. That's
Yeah.
yeah. I bet you somebody in the chat is going to know this already, but I would bet that that the orc in Lord of the Rings, the one with the weird milky eye, who notices Sam and Frodo in disguise,
Mm.
I bet you that guy's modeled off of this dude.
Oh, yeah,
I
I can
would
believe
I
that.
would almost like I would be willing to put money on that for sure. Um, but yeah, when he beats the shit out of like this is what I was talking about with like the lack of and then storytelling to this point in the movie, right? Is that all of it is flowing together very very well, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So they leave like we're doing a really good job of tying the plot points together, right? Like but then like Tuco wants to kill Blondie, but then the carriage shows up, so he does this, but then like it's just so perfect in that construction up
Yeah, it flows
until
really well.
up until the point that we're gonna get to in a little bit. But at the camp, we find out that Angel Eyes has garnered a bit of a reputation for torturing prisoners, um,
Mhm.
because he's in it for the love of the game. He doesn't give a fuck
Well,
about
there's that. He's got a sadistic streak, we know that, but also he's looking for a certain guy, so, like,
yeah.
he wants to know if anyone here is already the guy he's looking for, right? So, like, because he could have been going under a different name, he's sort of, like, trying to get information out of the people that are already here, and he's pretty brutal about it, and obviously we're about to see that, the way he treats Tuco. But it's not
Yeah.
just for the love of the game. It's, he's trying to find Mr. Carson.
Yeah, I also really love the dynamic of them playing the ballad, this like
Yeah.
slow ballad, and like mournfully playing it, but also like nervously playing it because their comrades are being tortured while they do it. So the
Yep.
louder they play, the less anybody hears, but they're forced. That's just you can tell Quentin Tarantino finds that really compelling too, where he's just
Yeah.
like, oh
Yeah, yeah,
man,
yeah.
this is humanity. This is like the worst of it.
Yeah.
Like that's great. I love that. And like I mean Angel Eyes recognizes like Tuco recognizes Angel Eyes recognizes Tuco, but he brings him in anyway and he treats him, nice at the beginning, right? He gives him
Yeah.
some food and everything to, try to butter him up and get him talking about, because he knows he's not Bill Carson.
Yeah. So
Um,
he's like, how'd you get that name? He's like, oh, it's a good, I just needed a new name. It didn't really matter which one. It's as good as any kind
yeah.
of thing. And so he's like, oh, uh-huh, okay, sure.
So
And then he shows him, whoa, what
it's
is
the
it?
snuff
The
box.
little,
It's Bill
yeah,
Carson's
the
snuff
snuff
box
box that's like got fancy embroidered lettering on it
with, yeah,
for Bill
in some
Carson.
lips for Bill Carson. Oh, because it's from his the whore girl that he was shacked up with. Uh, yeah.
And so,
So
and then he like snaps his fingers in it,
yep.
and then yeah,
Yeah,
then
and
they
then
start.
the orc man from Lord of the Rings really puts a beating on him, and it is brutal, dude. It's like they are really good at doing these like beat up scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
The music, the very somber, like, lament, ballad of the Confederate soldiers stuck in the POW camp, like you said, playing over top of what they believe to be their comrades being tortured, like, it's a really interesting dynamic. It's kind of like the cackling through the torture scene. It's got a more subtle, interesting tension there because the music is really pretty and slow and sad, and then we're cutting back to the scenes of just being brutally
yeah.
beat up.
Yeah,
It's
it is funny,
interesting.
man. It's a good back and forth. It's a good dynamic.
Yeah,
You absolutely, like, you know that that's where Reservoir Dogs got it from too, right?
yeah,
Is
that
yeah.
sort of thing. Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, so he's about to squish his eyes in, and so tell Tuco tells Angel Eyes the cemetery name where the
Hmm.
treasure is buried, but he doesn't know the name of the grave, only Blondie does. So he reveals the information to him, and then Blondie gets pulled in, and Angel Eyes is basically just like, all right, put change into these clothes. You're done with the army. Gives him that little wry sort of like, yeah, you're done with the military. Your career's over for that. But he basically is like, why aren't you giving me the same treatment as Tuco? Because he sees the blood, the bright candy apple blood on the floor, which is another great touch, by the way. And he's like, why
Hmm.
aren't you giving me that same treatment? And he basically, like, I love this, how, like, he's sadistic and he's evil, but he's practical about it. Where he's just like, would you have talked? He says, nope, no, I probably wouldn't have. And it's like, yeah, so I guess the easiest way is that we team up, right?
Hmm.
Which I love it. I like it a lot. We're moving forward. But Tuco, it is revealed, is being brought to a different town by the big guy, the big goon, who is going to turn him in for the money. And I like in this scene where Tuco has him, or he's handcuffed Tuco to him, but even still, Tuco's like trying to play his advantage. He's basically trying to turn the other army guys on this dude, where he's just like, yeah, 3,000, they're gonna pay a lot for me for that. I bet that's more than they paid you to lose that arm, huh? Like, trying to do like any little thing, exploit any little advantage to get himself out of that situation, which is like, it just adds so much. It's so good, right? That, and then, it's even especially that it doesn't work, so he has to you know keep trying, which is another thing that I like about Tuco's character, is that he's just persistent in his rattiness. It's it adds a lot, and it
Yeah.
leads to
Oh,
one of the
okay.
best stunts in the movie, with the
Or the jump
trains,
from the train.
the jump from the train, and then the train cutting the chain
Yeah, yeah,
itself,
yeah.
because like that stunt almost killed him. Like,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
I was a little worried when I was watching it, I'll be honest with you. Okay, so by the way, the context of the scene where where Clint Eastwood shoots one of Angel Eyes' guys, and then he's like, "Oh, perfect, 6, the perfect number because I have 6 more bullets." They're like going out on their own, and he assumes that it's just going to be him and Angel Eyes, but then Angel Eyes has other guys with him. Clint Eastwood like kind of wakes up in the middle of the day for night and shoots one of them, and then that's when he reveals that like it's not just us. I'm bringing some of my guys with me. So that's the context of that scene. I like it. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, that is
Um,
nice, actually. I think that
but
adds a lot.
Yeah, they jump from the train, and he rather brutally
Oh
kills
yeah,
the
kills the
guy.
guy with like beating him on the and like he's been promising that, right? It's another instance of Tuco like taking a deep revenge on
Oh yeah,
somebody who wronged him.
yeah,
Yeah, which
yeah,
that works too. I like that.
yeah. No, it's good for sure. And then we have the scene where he's trying to figure out how to get the handcuffs off of him, and he tries hitting it with a rock. It's not working, and then he has the idea to lay the big goon in the middle of the train tracks, and then like lay the chain across the train tracks and lay down flat on the other side, and hope that the train wheels will just break the chain. Which has MythBusters ever tried something like this? I'm curious if that would work. I imagine it
I
would
I
work, right?
I yeah, I
Or would it kind of like pull him along and like kind of pull
I
him
was
under the
kind
wheels?
of worried that that's what it was. I was like, wouldn't it just
Yeah, I don't
yank
know.
you like
If anyone in
yank
the
your
chat
arm
knows
out of your
whether they've
socket
ever
or something like that? Like I don't
tested that, yeah, I because I thought maybe it'd pull it along, yeah, like dislocate his arm if nothing else, right? But maybe it would just break it instantly. I'm not really sure. But it would be painful. I think either way, a little bit.
yeah, what
Anyway, it works.
yeah, it
It's a
does
great
work.
little stunt. And we, like, see, like, the body get, like, tossed about under the wheels of the train. That's pretty cool looking too. Just sort of left behind in its wake. It's good. Then we're introduced to,
Ooh, okay,
um
so here's what happened with that stunt, by the way. Um the train that they did the stunt with had low steel steps that were completely overlooked during the planning stage for the stunt, and so that almost decapitated him.
wow.
Yeah.
Um, I'm so glad it didn't.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. That'd be crazy. Yeah, man, we were, you know, in general, stunts have gotten a lot safer, and that's good.
Yeah.
That's a that's a good thing in general.
Yeah, and they only used the
Um,
one take. So I mean, like it's a great stunt, but yeah, like
oh yeah.
he was Sergio Leone was mad that he didn't look at the camera when it happened because he was like, "Ah, I want it to be I want it to be able to be obvious that it wasn't a stunt double." And he was like, "What? You want me to finish the movie without a head? Like, are you fucking crazy?" Like that was I almost and he Sergio Leone like apparently he just like stopped, looked back at the train, and went, okay, we got it. Let's move on."
I think it's obvious without him turning and
Yeah,
looking
I
towards
think
the
it's
camera
pretty
that it
clear
wasn't.
it's
Yeah,
not a
it
stunt double.
looks
It
and
looks
feels very
great.
real. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
by the way, I was just looking at it on IMDb. There are so many different run times for this movie.
Oh wow.
Um, we talked about like the extended one being like 177, 178 minutes or something like that. The one you saw, I think, is 161, 162. But I see 161, 182, that's Spain, 148, that's the United Kingdom, 178, the United States, 186 dubbed France, 179, the 2003 extended English edition, and 142 minutes also. Well, that one's Finland. So basically, every country got a slightly different length version of this movie, which is interesting. Anyway, now we are into the scene where they arrive in a town that I believe it's the Union soldiers that are moving through, right? And we see a scene of them shooting someone who's either a prisoner or a
Yeah.
deserter or something
Yeah, who's
by
carrying
firing
his own
squad.
coffin.
Yeah,
Yeah, that God, dude, like there's
brutal.
some really good imagery just in the
Yeah,
background of
yeah,
these
just
scenes.
small detail stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's genuinely really interesting. Um, then we get to this section of the movie. This will eventually amount to, well, there's the scene with the bath. We can talk about some of these little gags along the way, but eventually this is going to lead to him and Tuco versus Angel Eyes' crew, right? Um, I I was a little unclear. Perhaps you remember exactly how Clint Eastwood broke away from the rest of the
Oh,
gang.
he walks off. He just
and no one stops him?
Well, Angel Eyes sends somebody to follow him, and he shoots him.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they let him walk off in the first place. Okay, but that makes sense. They send someone after him and he kills him. Okay, that makes sense. And then he sees Tuco, who has taken the bath of someone.
Who's
He's like
abandoned?
pouring
Yeah,
the
she's
bubbles
abandoned
into
her
it.
bath in the middle of the chaos of the town being caught in the shelling of
Yeah, yeah,
the army. And so he's taken a bath, and this is where like we get the context for the time jump, because one of the mercenaries, the guy with from the very first shot of the movie, he arrives and like comes in on Tuco taking a bath, and he does his monologue. He's like, "I've been waiting for 8 months. It's been every time I wished I still had my right arm, I thought of you, but it's been 8 months, so I've had plenty of time to learn to shoot with my left." And so Tuco just shoots him from the bathtub, and then
yeah. Because which is great that he just had his pistol with him in the bath. That's pretty
yeah,
funny.
that's pretty. Yeah, it's like if you're gonna shoot, shoot. Don't just stand there talking about
Yeah, I
like
like that.
like she
That's fun.
says in Van Helsing.
Yeah, if you're gonna. I like that he kills someone for monologuing. It's pretty great. And I just love the
Yes.
detail that he has the little gun in his bath with him. It's great. He just pulls it out of the bubbles and kills him. And then he runs into Clint Eastwood, and they're like, you know what? Maybe we should team up after all. And so then, sort of like one by one and two by two, they go take out all of the rest of Angel Eyes' goons, like amidst shelling and everything like that. It's a pretty cool, fun
Yeah, I
scene.
like it. And then they get
Yeah.
to the one that Blondie shot, who they've like Angel Eyes has left him in the bed with a note attached that says like basically what is it like nice try idiots or
Yeah,
something
but,
like that.
Tuco doesn't know how to pronounce idiots at first, and
Yeah.
then he goes like, "It's idiots, it's for you." Funny. Good joke.
They
The one
should
thing
have
I've the
absolutely should if they I can't remember if they did, but if they didn't, they absolutely when he says it's for you, they should have just played the wah, wah, wah.
um, one thing I was a little underwhelmed by, like, them taking on all of Angel Eyes' other goons is that, like, none of the other guys were very impressive at all. Like, they always, like, waited a long time to shoot even after they saw them, just so Clint Eastwood and Tuco could dispatch them pretty easily. It was a little like, okay, they didn't even really need to try. It just didn't reflect well on the quality of Angel Eyes' dudes. It's just a little too easy,
There's only one who even gets close, and he has all the time in the world to line up a shot, and he
and
still
he just
misses.
misses.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. It's a little underwhelming. It sort of lowers the cool factor for me, because I want to think that Clint Eastwood and Tuco are really awesome next level shots and everything like that, but they're facing guys that are just completely worthless, you know. So it's I don't know. It's not quite as impressive as it could be if we staged it so that like they were a little quicker, they were using cover slightly better, or, whatever. That sort of thing. I think you could tighten that up. That would help.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and so it ruined the whole movie for me,
Basically,
basically, is
yeah.
what I'm saying. Yeah. Good henchmen were hard to find. Good henchmen are hard to find in every
Every
movie,
movie,
apparently.
yeah.
And it doesn't need to be like that.
Have you ever
They're
watched
playing on they're
Venture
playing on
Brothers?
story mode. That is a good way of putting it. In this section of the movie, they're absolutely playing on story mode.
Yes, yeah, the,
Like,
the version that we give to games journalists so that they can get through, you know. Uh,
what's the Cuphead guy? The Cuphead tutorial guy.
oh God, I don't remember his name,
Is this
but yeah.
Japanese kind of name? I don't know. That was pretty funny. Anyway, moving along. So Angel Eyes has fled, which is interesting because it kind of like shows that he's not stupid, but also he's
Oh,
like a little bit of a
we
snake.
did skip over when Tuco finds Blondie in the guest room and the artillery shell. Like he's gonna hang him from the ceiling beam, but the extremely convenient artillery shell blows the floor up.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
That was pretty convenient.
yeah.
I mean, like I can believe Clint Eastwood gets out of that another way, but that was pretty like okay. Come
Sure.
on, guys, you didn't. You're just like, and then a shell out of nowhere, conveniently destroys the building, but doesn't hurt either of them. It's like, okay, all right,
Yeah.
sure. That's such an easy fix, you know. He just needs to like have quicker reflexes and like I don't know, like there's a way out of that.
Yeah. Anyway, so
Ian
yeah,
Takahashi, thank you,
yeah.
Exun Lagoon. That's his
Yes.
name.
And I don't know if you have you ever seen Venture Brothers, by the way?
No, but I've heard good
It
things.
is really funny. That like I just when we're talking about like the good henchmen are hard to find, it's like they have this whole like the henchmen are some of my favorite characters in that show. They're really fucking funny.
There
So
is there's a clip. I didn't watch too much of Batman the animated series, but isn't there like a pretty famous clip of a henchman like walking into a room, seeing Batman, who's not obviously not supposed to be there, and just like closing the door and walking out of the room and
yep,
just like whistling, you know,
yeah.
like nope, 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 no, thank you. I'm just gonna pretend I didn't see that. Pretty funny. Yeah, good henchmen are hard to find, even in good movies. It's a struggle sometimes. You know, it just if we're gonna make our hero characters seem awesome by dispatching a bunch of guys, the more competent they are, the more awesome it makes our heroes seem. So something to keep
Fair
in mind.
enough. Fair enough. But yeah, so they team back up together. Angel Eyes has escaped, but
He's
now
flown
two
the coop.
it's full in the coop. But now Tuco and Blondie are back together again as they continue the pursuit of the buried treasure. And this is where we get to the like maybe the biggest and then
Yes,
in I don't know about in movie
in the
history,
movie.
but in this
No,
movie
but
for sure.
yeah, in this movie.
Um,
Yeah, it's we've talked about how successful the plotting is and how how everything seems to follow on from what came before it in a satisfying way. It's like the conveniences are kind of introduced more and more as the story goes. It starts off very strong, and then there's a couple little things like, oh, that was okay, that was kind of absurdly convenient, but all right. And this is like, ah, that was a little too easy, but fine. And then immediately after dispatching all those guys with ease because they're just terrible shots, it's like, it's a little quiet here. Oh, and now we're surrounded by Union soldiers. Oh, and then we walk 5 more steps, and there's a massive army building fortifications into the side of a hill. It's just the most like, oh, come on, you
with
couldn't think of a
yeah,
better way. You couldn't think of a better way of doing this. Like, this didn't need to be a one take. They could have been found like a little further away from where the
yeah.
armies,
And now,
by
to
like,
be fair, it is a really nice gimbal shot to go up from them, in the woods, then surrounded by the
yeah,
Union,
but
and then up to the fortification. It looks great. It just
it's a
does
good
some,
shot.
yeah. It does. It is not great. Not good
Literally,
for.
if they turned and looked to the left, they'd be able to
Yeah,
see a massive army, and they're like, "Oh shit, we're surrounded." Like, it needs to be further away.
it does.
They need to be
Yeah,
like a solid 5 minute walk from where the army is, because they just need to have some people posted up there to make sure they're not flanked or something. You know, like that's, and then they find them, and then they bring them to the camp. Like, I don't know that that needs to be one shot. I know it's cool that it's one shot, but we have so many other great shots. We're not really lacking for them. I think we could have just made that a little less contrived. It's unbelievably contrived the way this happens. And this is probably my least favorite section of the movie. It's not bad, but compared to everything else, it does feel the most tacked on. Obviously they spent a ton of money on this section,
yeah.
so
This
it's
is
odd.
the budget. Really, like you really feel the budget in this
Yeah,
scene.
massive army, massive like what's the word? Fortifications, but like trenches and
Yeah,
everything. Big
tons of
explosions
cannons.
for the bridge. Like the scene of the commander talking about how like, alcohol and is the best weapon of war and everything like that. It's like mildly interesting, but it doesn't do a whole lot for me
Yeah,
compared to
like
some of
the
the other
commander
little.
really wants to blow the bridge up, right? That's his. He's
Yeah,
like,
that's
oh,
his dream.
neither side wants to blow the bridge because we both need the bridge because command says so. It's the only place that you can cross, without swimming, right? So we each
Yeah.
need the bridge. Neither of us wants to blow the bridge. I'd love to do that because it would save thousands of lives, and this really speaks to Blondie. He's basically,
Mhm.
and they launch an assault on the bridge, and it's a great scene. It's a great battle scene. There's a lot of explosions and tons of extras, and it looks great. But
Yeah.
one of the things that Blondie says is like, I can't stand to see men's lives being wasted for something that small, right? So what they end up deciding to do, especially after the commander is wounded, is to just blow the thing up. Now, the logistical reason that they give for this, right, is that they could just swim across the river, but the other army is there. So if they blow the bridge up, then maybe both armies will have to go find something else to fight about, right? That's that's the logic. So the cemetery that they need to get to is on the other side of the river. They can't cross the bridge. They can't just swim across the river because the other army's encamped on the other side, and then they'll end up, running
Yeah.
into that kind of trouble. So they have to just blow the bridge up. Um, how they do this is they get a big box labeled very clearly explosives.
Well, you don't want to mix it up with the other boxes here. I
Right,
mean, come on.
of course not.
That's
They
just
get
common sense.
well, they get that box, and they put it on a stretcher, and they go down to.
Well, they take a wounded guy off a stretcher first, which is like, okay, I get a little bit of mixed signals from this movie sometimes about how much our characters care about the war and people. Because sometimes it feels like, isn't it kind of fun and funny how much they don't care about the Civil War and they're just out for themselves and going on this, treasure hunt. Uh, and then the big war with all these like political and social and moral implications happening around them, but they don't really care. Like that's one angle. And then another angle is that they're like, or at least Blondie is troubled by all the fighting and everything like that, and he thinks it's like a big waste of
Human
you know
life, human life,
human
yeah.
life and everything
And
like that.
like
So he's gonna
Wasserman is
do
saying,
some.
like that is why Blondie is good. Yeah, I like that. I do like that.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like I get some mixed signals
Yeah.
from him about
Um,
how much he cares about just normal innocent life and stuff like that. Like obviously, like if they need the stretcher to do this thing, sure, but it's played as a comedic beat that they just throw a wounded guy off the stretcher to be like, "Sorry, we need this." Like it's just I don't know. It's
like
in a
it's
weird
also played as a comedic
ambiguous
beat when they
area.
run, because there are lots of other medics running down to
Yeah.
get wounded people away from the bridge. And so they play it off as a comedic beat that they don't want anybody to know what they're up to, right? Because they
Yeah.
bring the stretcher down and they put it down, and obviously the box says explosives on it, right? But so there are people walking by them, so they stop for a second and they like go to pretend like they're picking up a corpse looking for survivors to put on the stretcher. And then
Yeah.
when those people move past, then they're like, okay, the coast is clear. It's not. There's so many people still running around because there are
Yeah, yeah.
tons of people trying to get the wounded back to the camp, right? So
Yeah.
it's like, it's not. We're not really doing. We're not really doing a great job of selling that this is supposed to be like sneaky, but they're rolling nat 20s on the stealth
Yeah.
check
Yeah. It's
despite having
everything's
like
working out for
zero
him.
stealth. You know,
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah, and it is kind of played for laughs in a way that I find amusing. It's just I like the idea that he is sort of like opposed to needless suffering and all that sort of stuff in general, and that like part of the reason that blowing up this bridge, would be good is that, it's sort of. But that's the other thing, like blowing up this bridge doesn't like save a bunch of lives. Both armies are just going to move on to whatever the next
they're just gonna go
strategic
fight
point
about
is.
something else. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't really feel like a principled thing. It feels like a self-interested thing more so. And
yeah,
that's fine and that's good and interesting. And there are little moments where like, okay, when they get across the bridge, he sees a guy who's dying and he just kind of gives him some water and one more like puff on
or
a
puff on the
cigar.
cigar. Yeah,
And like that's a nice little moment. I like that.
yeah.
For sure, but yeah, like I hate to see so much suffering. It's like that's an interesting angle. I don't know that it's like perfectly in keeping with everything we've seen leading up to now and after.
And it's
That
not
makes sense.
like we're not executing it
as well as we
wonderfully.
could.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
you know,
like I like it more as like I said, the angle where they're sort of like like they're passing through the Civil War, but they're not involved because they don't care because they're out for themselves. I think that's interesting. You know, I like the the carrying the stretcher because it is funny in a dark sort of way that they could throw a wounded guy off the stretcher and like someone mentioned that it's for the greater good. It's like yeah, sort of. Only that this doesn't really ultimately like stop any fighting long term, because they'll just move to whatever the next strategic checkpoint is. You know, it's not like this saves a ton of lives ultimately. Really, I don't. In the short term, yes. Long term, I don't know that it actually does.
yeah,
But mostly, they just want to get across the bridge to get the gold because that's the whole point. You know,
yeah. They got
I
to
don't know.
clear the way, basically, right? Like that's pretty much it. So, yeah, I mean, I just feel I don't know, man. I feel like there was a you could have done something a little different with this scene. Maybe not too much, but I don't know,
A
maybe,
lot of the
right?
pieces are there and working,
Yeah,
right? For sure.
but it's just
I don't know that I really buy
it's wobbling on
some
the landing just a little bit,
a little
like
bit, yeah.
that's really what's getting me about it is
And there's the fact that like we land into this section like in a very sort of like contrived, unbelievable way, and it doesn't really connect to their. I mean, it's an obstacle for sure, and it's something they need to do, but like it does feel like an and then they have to do this to get there. It's like okay, I guess so. It feels a little tacked on.
yeah.
Um, feels like we've lost a bit of narrative momentum here, but it's a fun sequence. There's a lot of cool stuff, and I like the sort of comedic stealth of them like setting it down and going la 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 la
La
la,
la la
and
la
some
la.
people passing, and then they can pick it up again, even though people are still around. It's pretty funny, and I like that they like kind of swim across and rig it up, and they sort of like talk about if we die here, maybe we should tell the other person what the other half of the secret is, and then they like ostensibly do, right? We'll learn later that Clint Eastwood tricked him a little bit, but it makes for some good stuff
I
for
do
sure.
like that too. The trick is really trick is great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a good trick.
Yeah. So they blow the bridge. They blow the bridge, and there's like there are a lot of snap zooms on cannon fire after the bridge is blown up, which I like a lot. I mean, it's funny. It's funny every time. Um, so when they rig the bridge up to explode, Tuco convinces Blondie to tell him, kind of, right? Or he thinks he convinces Blondie to tell him his half of the secret, because he basically is like, okay, well, this is the cemetery. All right, well, the grave is Arch Stanton. That's the name of the grave, and they rigged the bridge to blow up. They managed to get all the way back to camp, despite the fuse being very short, right? And they get into a foxhole basically. Tuco is face down, ass up, like hands overhead. The bridge explodes. There's some cannon fire, and then see, this is the other thing that like it just kind of I just don't love it, right? Is that they wake up the next morning and both armies have completely cleared off. And
Yeah,
I just don't like they're in the same position that they were when the bridge blew up. They've
yeah.
fallen they've been waiting for the cannon fire to end, and they have fought like Tuco has fallen asleep with his ass in the air, right? And nobody like I and but like they wake up and everybody's gone. And that I don't love that. That
And the logic of the movie is that they're presumed dead, right?
I guess like
They didn't they didn't check or
yeah,
anything.
like
They just
yeah,
cleared out.
I guess so. Yeah, they
Yeah.
just cleared out. I mean, like it's fine. I don't. It's not like it doesn't. Well, yeah, it's not like it doesn't work. It's just I don't know. It feels a little bit like this whole section. It feels like we're just kind of like okay, like I don't know. I feel like there was a tighter, stronger way we could have achieved this goal. I just
Yeah.
I'm not clear on what,
This
but it
section
feels like
feels like a good first draft, you know?
yeah, yeah,
Put it like that maybe sounds harsh, but it's like, there's a lot of great stuff here, and I like it in principle, but we could make how we get here less stupid. We could make it a bit more thematically rich and more the characters could be slightly more consistent and like, the logic could be a little stronger. Yeah, because you're gonna spend a lot of money on this sequence.
Well, yeah, apparently they spent a whole bunch because apparently they weren't filming the first time they blew the bridge and then they had to build it back and blow it up again.
That's pretty funny.
Holy shit.
Sorry, we weren't filming. Like whatever camera assistant had to tell them that.
Oh, that
Pretty
poor
bad.
guy.
Yeah.
Oh, shit, yeah.
Fun fact: that's the guy whose body they threw under the train. They killed him.
Yeah.
They killed that
They
guy.
killed that. They killed that camera op. Yeah. So Wasserman says this section is for me showing Blondie's humanity. IDK. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I agree. I think that's the best part about it. I think that's what it is achieving, and it's doing it fine. I just feel like there's a better way we could do it without all the all the conveniences that you have to accept to get like to get from point A to point B. We could have had that and not done like it just I feel like it could be tighter. It could stick that landing better. It's not that I hate it. It doesn't ruin the movie for me. I don't love it. I don't love it and I think we could have done better. That's yeah.
Oil lubed Phalanx says, I thought the general said this is the best way to cross the bridge, so presumably the armies are racing to get to the next best bridgehead or the next best, yeah,
Yeah.
like infrastructure point. So it doesn't, that's my thing about it. It's like, well, first of all, not everyone on both sides of the army thinks this is all stupid and pointless. Some of them like are legitimately trying to win, right? And so his attitude coming in as an outsider who's like, this is all pointless, a pointless waste of life. We're just going to blow up this bridgehead. That way they'll stop fighting over it. It's a little like, okay, but does this like this is a temporary sort of staying of any fighting. They'll just move
Yeah.
on to the next thing and
They'll
like
go to
I
the
guess
next
best
bridgehead and
yeah,
kill each
best
other
case
over that
scenario,
one.
the war
Yeah.
ends before they get there, but like what are the odds of that? It just seems like I don't know.
Yeah.
Virtue signal is way too strong of a word, but you know what I mean. It feels a little like what does this accomplish actually?
Yeah, well,
Really?
like what it is establishing that Blondie has, humanity at his core, right? That's it, right? And like I
Well,
said, I
yeah,
feel like there's a better way to do it. I
yeah,
just
yeah.
it's not that it's not working. It's not that I don't get it. It's just that it's not working as well as it could, you know? And I do like it. I think that's the thing that I'm like, okay, like
I
I
really
see what
like
you went
the when
for.
they get to the other
I
side
like
of the
that you took
bridge
the
and the moment
swing.
he has.
Yeah, I like that.
I like
Yeah,
that better.
yeah, me too. But I like that they took the swing, right? I like that you took the swing, but I don't like that you struck. You missed it, right? Like
Mhm.
you swung at the ball and you didn't miss it, but good for you. Um, or you didn't hit it, is what I meant. Yeah. And I like when they get across the water and he comes on the dying Confederate soldier and he shows him some mercy and gives him a little bit of sympathy at the end, like lets him, die kind of at peace or at
In a
least
more
in a little more
dignified yeah,
dignified
yeah.
way, right? And then that's
That's a
where
nice moment. I like that
I like
moment a
that,
lot.
and I like that that's how he inherits the poncho, right? Like that's where he gets the poncho
Mhm.
from. So
Yeah.
it
And I want
creates that
more I
character.
like that guy. I like that guy
Yeah,
in that scene, and I want a little more of him in the rest of the movie, you know? Just a little bit more. It doesn't have to be a lot. He doesn't need to be the paragon of virtue or a close approximation of that he is in the first movie, but I just want a little more of that because this feels like this whole sequence just is like a little slapdash. Like this could be tightened up. This could be improved.
yeah.
So it felt more
Yeah.
connected to the
And
rest of it.
Georgia, so like I do like the idea that maybe they wake up as the last of the army is like trailing off instead of just waking up and everybody's already gone with all the artillery and everything like that. right?
Hmm.
Like, or that they sneak away while in the chaos that ensues when the
Sneak away
army.
would be better.
Yeah,
Sneak away would be better because they're going to swim across anyway. And, we've shown the Union soldiers taking great care for the dead. We've actually seen our guys not care for the dead and wounded, right? So like I don't believe that they would just leave them there if they thought maybe they were injured. Like they would probably check on them,
yeah,
especially if they're just asleep. So like they would move slightly. You could tell that they're alive. You expect when everyone's clearing out that they would check. So if they snuck off if it didn't like knock them out, essentially incapacitate them, and they just snuck off in the chaos, that would be stronger,
yeah.
I
I
think.
think that would work better.
And they could, like, when they get to the other side, they see the Confederate soldiers clearing off or something like that, and we see a guy who was accidentally left behind or something. There's a way to make that work. It was a bad dream.
Yeah, but okay. Anyway, so now we're across the water. He has his poncho, and Tuco tries to ride off, to get to the cemetery, like alone before him. So he shoots him with a cannon by lighting it with a cigar.
First of all, like I don't really care, but it is really funny that there's a cannon pointed in that direction already. Like really, he
That
doesn't
they
need to
left.
turn it.
The army left that cannon. That army left the cannon. They were like,
Yeah,
ah,
that's ridiculous in and of itself, but also it's already pointed not like in the direction of the enemy, but like over in the direction of a cemetery off to the side. And it's just pointed that way. And so all he has to do is light it, and it's like a perfect shot to not kill, but like
to not kill,
knock it.
but bounce, basically
Yeah.
bounce Tuco straight into the
And it was
cemetery.
loaded. Yes, thank you, Wasserman. And it also happens to have a cannonball in it.
Two. Like, well, yeah,
Two.
one to start, and then a second one to do it again, because
Yeah,
he bounces
one
him.
assumes he grabs that one from somewhere, but like he doesn't need to adjust. Like
It's
it's a little dumb. It's fun, but it's a
it is
little
fun.
dumb.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
Because then he almost gets hit by the second one, and that sends him tumbling into one of the gravestones. And then the music starts up. It's almost kind of an unceremonious way of landing here at the final, like main objective point. It's funny.
Yep.
It's funny, but it's like, oh shit, we're here. And then it's like, okay, now we're in the end game. Now we're in the final stretch. And the music starts playing, and he's running around like like a giddy schoolboy, and, and like he's running on like really long telephoto shot from far away. It's pretty fun. And then like the camera's whip panning around as he's looking at all the graves, and it's a little nauseating to watch, but I get what they're going for. And the music is great. I love this piece of music. It's absolutely incredible.
Yep.
Um,
I
then
agree.
eventually, yeah, the roll of cool.
Fantastic.
Second cannon oh yeah, maybe it's a second cannon that's also just
It
happens
just
to be
happens to be
perfectly lined up
perfectly
and
lined up
loaded
for
that
that
way.
exact.
Well, either it's that or he loaded another one. It's either way, it's fun, but I don't know. It is a little stupid the way that works out. But that's okay.
But either way, I mean, he finds Arch Stanton's grave, and
Yeah.
he starts digging there. I like when, and then of course, Blondie shows up with a shovel. Just like it'll be a lot easier with that. And then Angel Eyes shows up with another shovel, and now
It'll be
we've
a
got.
lot easier if two people dig or whatever he
Oh
says.
yeah, nah, dude, it's This is great. This is legitimately just like so much fun, right?
Yeah.
So and then of course, Blondie is like, well, I mean, you can dig here all you want, but you're not going to find anything. And he kicks the thing open, and there's nothing but a corpse. Like I lied.
None of them open.
Surprise!
Yeah.
None of them open. Surprise, bitch! I lied. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna write the actual name on the bottom of this stone, and he puts it in the big circle in the middle of the cemetery and steps
Wait,
back.
wait. Really quick. Okay, sorry. I was getting ahead of myself. Continue. Sorry.
Well,
I was
yeah,
jumping ahead.
okay. Well, he says he's gonna write the name on the bottom of a stone, and he puts it down, and that leads to maybe one of the most iconic moments in movie history, the shootout between the three-way shootout between the three of them,
Hmm.
which is, I mean,
It's
it's
tremendous.
fantastic. Yeah,
It lasts a really long time, but not in a
not in
bad
a bad
way.
way at all. Yeah,
Not
I
in a
love
bad
it.
way. We really sort of milk that moment for all it's worth, which is good. This is a big epic movie. We've been building to this, and so we're really gonna sit in the tension of like, ooh, because it's not only who's faster, but like who's gonna be aiming at who. You know, that's what makes
Yeah,
the sort of triangle duel so interesting, right? Because like who's gonna shoot at who first?
yeah,
You
because
know.
like you would think, that Blondie's gonna shoot Angel Eyes, and that but yeah, Tuco might shoot at Blondie. You don't know. You have no
Yeah.
clue where he's gonna go. So yeah,
It's just it's tremendous. There's only so many ways to say it. It's iconic for a reason. I love the music. I love the buildup. I love all the tight close-ups of their eyes as they
yeah,
dart around and look at each other. The one of Lee Van Cleef's eyes are a little out of focus, but it's film, so
yeah.
we'll
So two
we'll
really
give
interesting things
him a
from The
little
Thing,
grace.
which is great. Thank you very much. The corpse in Arch Stanton's grave apparently was a real skeleton from an actress who wanted to appear in one final movie. That's awesome.
Wait,
That's
really?
I guess so. That's what he says. I
That's
believe everything everybody on the internet tells me. So
especially in our chat because
in
they're
our
the
chat, because
best.
yeah, they're the best. They would never lie. They would never go
They
on the
would never
internet and
lie.
tell
They're
lies.
always truthful, except for when they have the wrong opinions, but that's all right. They would never lie.
Yeah. And also in this sequence, you can see that Lee Van Cleef is missing the tip of one of his fingers.
Yeah, I
Um,
noticed that in this one. I
yeah,
didn't notice that in the last movie,
most
but
people don't seem to have. I don't know if you ever actually see his hand in the last, in the movie prior to this
certainly
one, but
not in a tight close up like that.
yeah. But I did some research and I do know how that happened. It
Tell
was
me.
not, as many places reported, a bar fight. And it was also not a car accident, even though he did also get into a bad car accident at one point. Now, he cut it off by accident on a circular saw while building a playhouse for his daughter in the backyard.
Oh hell yeah, brother! That's what I'm talking about.
That's a
That's
man
that's,
right there.
that's great.
That's that.
I knew I liked him.
Yeah. What a
Listen,
what a what a great dad.
yeah,
Literally, like that bitch better have enjoyed that playhouse. Is all I'm saying. Like, dad
yeah. He
almost
put
lost
his
a finger for that.
he has blood, sweat, and tears. That's great. Okay, so yeah, big standoff moment, and then what happens, Hugh? What's the result?
The result is the Blondie shoots Angel Eyes, and Tuco does not have a loaded pistol.
Which is pretty funny.
It's really funny. He set him up so hard.
Yeah, that could have gone many horrible ways for Tuco. It's pretty funny. Um, yeah, so he shoots Angel Eyes, but Angel Eyes isn't dead yet, but Clint Eastwood makes sure to double tap and triple and quadruple and maybe even quintuple tap, memory serves, to make sure that he's dead. And he literally falls into like an open grave, which is pretty fun. I like that. That's good. Angel Eyes is no more. He got bested by the man with
He
no
got
name.
bested, and he's gonna
So
get
it goes.
bested again because he shoots him. He shoots him once, and he's still alive. So he shoots him again, and he rolls perfectly into a grave. And
I
then
just said that.
oh, sorry. And then he shoots him again.
You weren't listening to me. How
I
dare you?
no, I wasn't. Did you talk about how he shoots him again and flops his hat off?
No, I didn't. I didn't mention that bit.
Okay,
No,
so that's the point that I was gonna get at, is that he shoots his hat off too, because
because why not?
why not? Because he's cool like that.
Yeah.
Take your hat off. Be respectful. Wipe yourself off your
um.
bleed.
Yeah. So then he walks over to Tuco. He picks up the stone, and Tuco is unhappy. He says, "You pig! You wanted to get me killed. When'd you unload it?" And he said, "Last night." You see, in this world, there's two kinds of people, my friend: those with loaded guns, and those who dig. You dig. Great,
Great.
great. Another awesome, cool guy line from Clint Eastwood in this movie. So many good ones in this whole trilogy.
Yep.
he's like, "There's no name on it." He points to the grave that says unknown. And he said, like, "Well, that's what Bill Carson told me. There's a grave marked unknown right beside Arch Stanton." And then he starts to dig.
Yep. And he
And there it
finds,
is.
there it is. There's the money.
$200,000 in gold in, I think, 8 like saddlebags. And he
Yep.
says, 4 for you, 4 for me.
Does he?
Um,
Does he though?
well, yes.
Yeah.
Except that he tells Tuco that, like, I'm gonna need you to hang yourself. I'm gonna need you to get
Listen,
up into that noose there.
I'm gonna need you to get up on this cross and
Ooh, yeah. So
yeah,
I'm gonna
so
need you to put your head through this rope.
I'm gonna need you to put your head in this noose and
Yeah.
yeah, I'm
And I'm
gonna
gonna need you
also
to come in on Sunday as well. Yeah.
yeah. That'd be
Yeah,
great.
that'd be great. If you could do that, that would be great. Thanks. Hilton, how's it going? Listen, I just watched that movie again recently. By the way, if you haven't seen it or if you haven't seen it in a while, Office Space is an absolute banger. Totally holds up. Incredible movie.
Yeah,
Just like
it's been a
beat
while.
perfect.
I gotta watch that again.
Oh, it's so funny, man. Unbelievably funny. It's got such a great ending too. Tremendous movie.
I'm sure I have worked with my fair share of Milton in corporate life.
Oh god, it's so good. If you've had the experience of like corporate office culture, that movie will speak to your soul in a good way. It's just got such a satisfying arc for that character, because maybe on the surface you might think Office Space is a little bit of that sort of like disillusioned slacker, Gen
Yeah,
X type thing, but it has a really interesting ending that kind of like subverts the whole slacker ethos because he kind of grows out of it at the end in a really interesting way. It's a great movie. Great movie.
yeah.
Things go according to plan. I'll be showing you my O face later. Anyway,
And yeah,
um,
Wasserman also, I did notice this, and it did bug me too. Right, Tuco smashes open one of the bags of gold, which is only going to make it harder to get it out of there.
yeah,
That was, that's not very smart.
not the smartest
But
move.
he is
No.
not. He can't even read the word idiot. So,
Or unknown.
or unknown.
Yeah.
God, funny as shit. Yeah, but so Blondie rigs him up on the cross, and he says, "Well, how about six? Well, it's like what is it like 4 for me and 2 for you, or like something like
He
that?"
says 4. He says 4 for you and 4 for me, but he like leaves them there on the ground, but kind of leaves him like with his feet on the top of one of these wooden crosses, and his neck in the noose tied to a tree. There's quite a funny little line. I like this sort of line a lot, where he says, like, "You're joking, Blondie. You wouldn't play a joke on me like that." And he says, "It's no joke. It's a rope, Tuco." Funny. It's
Uh,
good. I like it.
and he
How would
rides
you
off with Tuco choking himself,
yelling Blondie,
yelling
choking?
Blondie,
Yeah.
choking, hands tied behind his back, so he can't even have the satisfaction of
I knew you were gonna say some shit like that. I just felt it in my bones.
He doesn't even get a good wank out of the deal. Like that's rough. It's a rough ending for Tuco. Except Blondie turns around and shoots him down from the rope, and keeps riding off. And Tuco yells after him, "You're nothing but a dirty son of a bitch!" And as he's about to say the word, it goes, "Wah, wah, wah, wah." That's the end
He
of the
rides
movie.
off, and that's the end of the movie. The end. Just as one little last fuck you, tying it back to tying it back into the con that they started at the beginning of the movie. And also, like, it's a bit of a playful sort of like fucking with Tuco because he has been through it with Tuco enough that he doesn't want to kill him, and I can understand that.
Yeah,
Especially if we cut the scene where he was being especially sadistic in the desert. But if we cut that, especially, it's like, okay, he doesn't really want to kill Tuco because he thinks Tuco is just kind of like, they've been through too much together, essentially, for him to just kill him. But he's like, as one last little fuck you, I'm gonna make him think I'm gonna leave him hanging out to dry and to die, literally. And so I'll just come back. I'll literally ride off like across the hill into the distance, only to come back and shoot him off. Just as a little like, haha, just kidding. Like that's pretty
It
funny,
is.
and I like
I like
that.
it.
And if we're going with the like him being the good as sort of like a little ironic because he's better than the others, but he's he's rough around the edges. He's morally gray, and he's like you know plays rather dirty pranks on people like that. I like it as an ending. It's fun.
Yep.
It's a good movie.
Yeah.
I
It's a
liked it.
really. I liked this a lot. I
I do think after going through all of it, I like it better than for a few dollars
I'm
more.
gonna I'm gonna say
I'm
the
gonna
same.
I'm gonna remember more of it. More like iconic moments in music are gonna like stick with me. Um, they have a lot in common, but I just think this will take the edge in the spectacle department as well. In the action, like for example, like in terms of the cool guy proving how quick I am as a gunslinger stuff, I think this movie is better because the one scene that I remember like that in for a few dollars more where they're like shooting the hats around goes on for a really long time and it's like I don't know, it feels a little like what are we doing? There was a little less dick measuring in this one in a way that I appreciated because I thought they went a little overboard with that in the last movie. But yeah, I think this one has a stronger story. I like the treasure hunt, searching for buried treasure angle. I like that it's sort of set during the Civil War, but they're kind of like floating through it without really getting involved. That's interesting to me. Yeah, I still prefer the first one by quite a margin, but
Yeah.
this is a good movie and I like it.
I'm with you on that one. Fistful of Dollars was just such a like a revelation because I had not seen that at
Yeah.
ever, right? And I think that thematically and just with the simplicity of the story, that one is still that one's my favorite of the three. But this one's really good. I like this a lot. And I
Yeah.
like the other one too, but just a little bit less than the other two. So that's my ranking is the same as yours. We we agree on this. For rankings that are not the same, next week we are going to return to the Disney project with The Jungle Book. Uh
And hopefully you guys will have been better behaved such that you appear on screen
yeah,
on the chat.
very
I don't know why
disappointed
you
in you.
weren't today, but you touched yourself in the middle of the night one too many times and you weren't on the screen for the
Yep.
stream. And that's sad, but hopefully we can correct that mistake and you will be back next week as we talk about The Jungle Book. The Disney arc continues. Hooray. I am excited for The Jungle Book. I love the music in that. I went on like a little bit of like a Louis Prima kick recently. Man, that
Louis
guy.
Prima is awesome.
Yeah, man. He's got some bangers and he certainly does in The Jungle Book as well.
I can't wait. I'm so
That's my I
glad
think
that we've entered jazzy Disney, like full jazzy Disney. We are in. We've
yeah.
got this. We got Robin Hood. We got the Aristocats with Scatman Crothers. It's just gonna be banger after banger coming at us from Disney for the next couple films.
Yeah. I someone asked if we're going to do a Western ranking like of all the westerns we watch because we do intend to watch more because I'm feeling like westerns are the thing. They're gonna make a comeback. I can feel it
I can feel it. Yeah, no,
in my
it's
bones.
happening.
That might be interesting. So next time we talk about a western, we will see how it compares. We'll do a little. Why not? Because rankings are fun, right? Give the people what
Yeah,
they want. We'll do a little ranking. We'll talk like because what are the other ones we've covered? It's just these other two,
it's
and
these
then
and then what, like Gunman's Walk?
I think that's the only other western we've covered.
Yeah.
Unless I'm misremembering one. So yeah, that'll be something we do going
We didn't
forward.
cover any John Wayne ones together, but The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, I really want to see that.
Sorry, it's just Kevo, everyone taking credit for touching themselves. That is pretty funny. Everyone in the chat's like, "Oh, my bad on that." Like, yeah, it
My
was
bad.
definitely me. It's pretty good. Yeah. So we got some more westerns cooking for later, and for now, since we just ranked these movies, where would you throw Gunman's Walk
Into the
into
mix
these
of
very different movie?
yeah, that's a really
But I really like Gunman's Walk. I think it's a
I
very
do.
underrated, underappreciated little movie. I think the character work in that. It's not as cool
Yeah.
as these movies are, but the character work is really strong. And it's just like, it's a different kind of movie. Not every movie needs to go into like character backstories and, have a lot of character depth. Like The Thing, for example, like you don't get anyone's backstory in The Thing, but it's great. It's like a perfect movie. You don't need it. Not every movie needs it, but I do like the character work in Gunman's Walk enough to maybe rank it second in among these four. Um,
Yeah,
that's where I'm going to put it for now.
I might put this right behind Good, the Bad, and the Ugly because The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is a cooler movie, and
Mhm.
I mean, I like the music in Gunman's Walk, but the music in this is just like it. I
Oh
mean,
yeah, the music's
yeah,
better in this.
music
I'll
is
give you
better,
that.
and the
I
music
do
is
like
really
"I'm a
like
Runaway." That's a great
it
song,
is a
and
good
I like
song.
the way there's a really great moment in Gunman's Walk where like that little ditty that they're singing it has a very lighthearted, jaunty tune they're singing like comes back in a really sort of haunting way with like a really tense sort of like atonal kind of like droning thing happening behind it that's really cool. So that's some good music, but it's there's nothing in that as good as that movie is nearly as iconic as like half of this movie,
Yeah,
right? There's a coolness, there's a cool factor. It can't be ignored, Hugh.
yeah. The rule of cool is gonna win out just barely on this one, but I would, yeah, I would say like a really close three behind Good, the Bad, and the Ugly on this one for Gunman's Walk.
Oiled Lubed Phalanx asks, "Do you count Dirty Harry and Death Wish as westerns?"
Mm,
No,
no.
I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't call them westerns. If someone said, "Oh, it's kind of like a neo-western," I'd go, "Yeah,
Yeah,
kind of."
yeah,
But not like really.
yeah,
you know, Dirty Harry is closer for sure in terms of having traditional westerny elements to it, but I think we'll probably, for the sake of talking about more westerns and doing little rankings of them, try to stick to the ones that are like squarely in the genre
yeah,
and less of the ones that are kind of like flirting on the edge. Because those can be very interesting in good movies as well. But
yeah.
you want to talk about
Another one that the thing just asked about is No Country for Old Men. I don't think I would include that on this list for rankings either. I would describe that as a neo western for sure. I mean, I don't think
yeah, that's
there's
a
yeah
western. I'm happy to call that a western. I think for the sake of this little arc that we're going to embark on, it's mostly because we want to watch a number of classic western films that neither of us have seen yet. So we'll probably stick more towards older ones.
or towards the
For
older ones.
now.
I do want
For
to
now.
do at some point True Grit and True Grit. I want to do a head to
That's
head
yeah.
matchup of those
That'll
two.
be a good one. And I still haven't seen Unforgiven. That's like
Oh,
90s, right?
dude, yeah,
So gotta watch that.
Unforgiven is great.
Yeah, so we'll probably stick to those. But yeah, No Country for Old Men is certainly a Western. It's definitely pulling on Western themes and tropes to a tremendous degree, and then just kind of taking them in a unique direction. But
Yeah,
yeah. There's even horses and cowboy hats in that movie, so
there are.
no cool music though. Very little music in that movie, in fact. But
But a
man, what a
great
picture.
villain.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's kind of interesting because now that I'm thinking about it, that has like a sort of triple protagonist type situation like this movie does, where one is a total psychopath that's completely evil. One is like an opportunistic. He's a good guy, but he is kind of out for himself, and he sort of like makes the sin like take he like makes the mistake of like trying to take this money for himself and thinking he can get away with it. And then you have the sheriff. It's a completely different dynamic, but it's got a
Yeah,
triple protagonist type thing where they're all not given equal weight, but they're all given a lot of weight. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
It's kind of an interesting connection. 310 to Yuma, original versus remake. I'll
yeah.
tell you right now, the original is better.
Yep.
I like
I
the
have not
remake.
seen either of those actually.
I like Russell Crowe in the remake a lot. There's a lot of cool stuff in the remake, but 310 to Yuma just has more of the sauce. You know what I mean? It's just got more. I don't know. It's got more going for it aesthetically, and I like how both movies. Okay, this, 310 to Yuma the remake kind of sucks off the villain a lot in a way that I don't care for. Like, isn't it really cool how like awesome and evil he is? I'm like, I don't know, not really. Like, I don't know. It's yeah, I don't know. It bothers me how much they try to make that guy who is just the worst, like worst evil scumbag, seem like really cool and awesome. Like we're supposed to be happy with what happens at the end. Anyway, but I think the original is more balanced in that regard, and it's got more visual. It's more visually interesting as well, being in black and white.
Yep. We did not cover Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, but that would
Not yet,
probably,
but
yeah,
we will.
we will. For this one,
We will.
absolutely.
The Sting. That's not really a western, is it?
Well, it's
No.
because I think Butch Cassidy and The Sting were done by some of the same people. It might have been the same director.
I don't know if that's true. Maybe it is, but obviously it's got the same two stars in it.
That's it. That's it. It's the same two.
George Roy Hill. No, it is the same director. You were right.
Oh, okay.
You got it. I should never have doubted you. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So there's a lot of movies that we're going to be talking about, westerns coming up, but Jungle Book next week.
Jungle
So
Book next week.
see you for that. Who's the guy in chat that's like, ugh, more westerns? It's like, yeah, more westerns,
Yeah.
buddy. But don't worry, we're gonna throw you a bone. Talk about a Disney movie
Yep.
next week. Don't you worry. Don't you worry.
Don't you worry. Maybe we'll start on a
Capital
rom
O
com.
Opinions hates the glazing of villainy. Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
I don't like
I don't. You know what?
villains.
You know what? I'm just gonna say it. I don't think I am perfectly okay with that being our reputation on the internet. That we are not fans of glazing villainy. I think
Yeah,
yeah,
making excuses for criminality and such.
yeah.
Yeah. No, no, thank you. Yeah.
Oh,
Have you seen either 310 to Yuma?
no, I haven't.
You'll like it. I think it's an interesting story. I'm curious. I think you'll probably agree, but I'm curious to see which one you like better.
I don't know. I haven't seen the original True Grit, but I have read the book and watched the Coen Brothers movie, and I
Okay.
really like the Coen Brothers movie. Fucking good. The book is one of my favorites, like top 5 books of all time, and I think the Coen Brothers movie is really good. So I don't know.
I watched the Coen Brothers movie a while ago, but it's been a while, so
Yeah,
I'll have to check
I
it out. I
really
remember
love
what's
that.
her name, the girl in it. She's really good.
Haley Steinfeld. Yeah,
That's the one.
yeah, that's the one. We saw her in a recent movie, actually.
Did we?
Yeah, she was Sinners. She was in Sinners.
Oh, right, she's in
She's the
Sinners.
retarded
Yeah.
vampire who runs away even though she's already inside and they have no idea that they can kill her.
Yeah, that's unfortunate
Yeah.
for her, but she probably got paid pretty
16
well.
Oscar noms.
Well, anyway, I don't have anything else to add, and I think we didn't get any super chats, so there's nothing to catch up on.
Yeah,
So, thank you all for joining us for concluding this Dollars trilogy with us. I hope you had a good time. I hope you didn't have to riot too hard.
Yeah.
I'm just noticing that the horizon in this picture I put in the background is really askew. But
Well,
you know what?
if the horizon is in the middle of the frame, it's it's boring as shit, so.
You gotta put like an ever so slight, looks like a mistake Dutch angle on it
Yeah,
to make it
exactly.
interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's how they do it. If it was good enough for Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, the film, it's good enough for us, am I right?
I don't think you are right, but we're just gonna move on. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for joining
We'll
us.
see you next week. Have a good one. Stay safe out there. Look out for bears,
Yeah. Bye.